What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to episode number 742 of the Smark Moment Smack Talk podcast, Hot Tags edition of the week. Of course, we're going to be breaking down everything that we feel like talking about that happened in the world of pro wrestling over the past few days in the TV recap and rumors and scuttlebutt and so on and so forth kind of realms. And of course, if you don't know who we are, well, I'm Tony Mango, your host as always, and joined as always by Callum Wiggins.
Hello.
And Rob DeFelice.
Hey.
And keep in mind, we always want to know what you have to say about these topics and our responses to these topics and everything else along those lines. So be a part of the discussion in whatever fashion it is that you are listening to us. If you are on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever like that, or you're on smarkamoment.com itself, where you can send a tweet, post something on Facebook, or if you are on YouTube, then make sure that you click on all the good things there and leave a comment below there. But over on the the like button, the share button, the hype button, all those kind of things. That's all greatly appreciated. Click on that subscribe button if you haven't already to make sure that you continue to get our content. Ring that notification bell for those email alerts of when we go live for certain things as well. That's something that is going to be popping up next week with Elimination Chamber. So immediately after the pay-per-view, be going live and doing my my usual reaction thing. And keep in mind, too, that we have got our Patreon with the Darkcast, to pick a poison tier, and even $1 a month. It's greatly appreciated. So if you want to join Patreon or the YouTube channel membership, it's exactly the same thing. I recommend just going through the YouTube side of things, because then sometimes once in a while we actually are able to do like some live things. And also the $5 tier and up on YouTube is the early access tier. So if we ever record anything in advance, then I usually upload that, and then you can watch it a little bit earlier. We have Redbubble and TeePublic for merchandise if you're interested in that. And we also have our Discord channel. That's a completely free way to just chat it up with everybody else and have some fun over on those little server channels and stuff. So out of that way, getting into the actual, meat of the whole podcast and everything like here, we got quite a bit of topics to break down, going back to some things from last week that are now like old news, but hey, we didn't get a chance to do it yet because that's what you do when you have a 1 week podcast thing. Let's go back and talk about the furthest back thing, the TNA No Surrender event, which of course I do not anticipate that everybody was really like super duper invested in. None of us are really like watching TNA, but some things that happened there that are pretty interesting. You can check out the full list of everything on the Rig Report of, the matches that it's not worth talking about. Sinner and Saint beat Brad Attitude and TW3, whoever the hell those are, that kind of shit. Alan Angels had a return thing where he was then beaten by Frankie Kazarian. I don't know exactly what they're going for with that, but it seemed kind of like a womp womp sort of thing to me. Jody Threat won the Knockouts Battle Royal to get a shot at the now new Knockouts World Champion, who is Arianna Grace, who beat Lei Ying Lee for the title. And to kind of counteract that, Stax lost the International Championship to Trey Miguel, who was cashing in his Feast or Fired title shot. So I don't understand the idea of like the whole power couple thing where one of them loses something and then the other one gains the other thing, and now they're just kind of like swapping. To me, that seems counterproductive. But I guess they felt like they needed to do the international title thing or something. I don't know. I like the idea of Grace as champion, but I don't necessarily like the idea that they just did that swap. What do you guys think?
Well, once I learned that she won the title, I think I messaged you immediately. I was like, why did they strip Stax? Because, granted, I agree that Trey Miguel is a better TNA International Champion, but if you're going to put a belt on Grace, it seems like you could have done more with them both as champions or something. But it's cool that she's a champion. I think she's vastly improved from what she started out as in terms of as a wrestler. And honestly, in her little faction right now, she's one of the more charismatic ones. So good for her. I think she's doing pretty good.
I think it's the Trey Miguel thing is just probably a means of somewhat congratulating him or giving him kudos for re-signing after leaving, or trying to leave to go to AEW, and then when that all fell apart, just saying like, okay, well, welcome you back and we'll give you this title as a means of okay, and also to continue up with the Feast of Fire gimmick, because not everyone that wins the Feast of Fire briefcase should win the title, but the majority of them should do it to make it seem like it's worthwhile actually being in that match in the first place. As for the Arianna Grace thing, I think it's, to me, it just crystallizes how low on the totem pole TNA is in general, and the fact that they have given their top women's championship to someone that I feel like WWE would be hesitant about giving the Evolve title to.
She is in a weird spot. It's very interesting because you bring up Evolve. That's exactly the next point I was going to bring up. She's on NXT on an infrequent basis. She's been popping up more often now with this whole like birthright storyline.
But she's a manager.
She's being used more so as a manager on that role. And then on a show like Evolve this week, it was like, oh, I'm finally going to get my hands on Layla Diggs and Mason Holiday with Nikita Lyons by my side and have a competitive tag team match where Grace won, but like it was kind of her biggest win. And it's like, those are two people on Evolve that have had like 4 matches. You're on the subordinate to NXT show, struggling in a tag team match with somebody who is, let's be perfectly honest, Nikita Lyons has went from this is a hot prospect to I don't even know if she's necessarily still going to have a job next year based off of the release schedules and stuff. And they keep demoting her lower and lower. You know, it's kind of the track record of what has happened a lot with most people from going from NXT down to Evolve is that they usually don't go back to NXT. So I'm worried about like Carmen Petrovic, and you know, if I was Dante Chen, I'd be like, you know, I don't know. But like Idris Onofe and, you know, Brooks Jensen and like all these other people, like I don't think anybody's really like come back from Evolve. And Grace being in there now is just sort of, I don't know, it's sort of weird. It's a different story if they would have been like, yeah, you give the belt to, I mean, like Kalani, for instance. Kalani was already a women's North American champion. So winning the TNA Knockouts title, sure, makes sense. And if they would have given it to like Lola Vice or to, I mean, any number of people, you know, it could have gone to Jada Parker, could have gone to, you know, so on and so forth. I like the idea of it going to Grace though, and her having like the opportunity to try something out and to prove herself without WWE necessarily being worried about like putting one of their belts on her. But it does seem very low on the totem pole, doesn't it?
Let's say it's a representation of what they see TNA as, which is just a proving ground for their young talent. And like, if that's supposed to be the third biggest promotion in North America, and admittedly, you could argue then the other company that's battling for that role is also where AEW uses to promote their younger talent. Then I think that it's a pretty sorry state of affairs, because you know they are very much dependent on WWE to get any sort of notoriety these days. They're not going out and signing any big people for themselves. They're not they haven't yet. I know it's still early days, but they're not utilizing this new platform on television to appeal to the next generation of wrestlers and try and steal a march on either WWE or AEW in terms of signing people. They're, again, for the most part, sticking with the same roster of people and then cycling in whichever WWE talent they want to bring in at that point, or WWE wants to send over at that point in time.
Now you, Rob, probably have the best idea of like the scope of what this Impact thing is, even though you're not really watching it either, but you just, you know, you've watched more Impact than I think both Callum and I combined with relative ease. Doesn't it kind of seem like they abandoned the whole NXT invasion angle to do what is essentially the same angle with the same people, but with just 1 or 2 people not in the mix? And then they want to do the power couple thing, but then they want to do also the power of struggle with the Daria Ray thing. And it's like they want to tell like 5 stories and they're all almost the same story, but none of them converge.
This is the problem with TNA and truthfully a lot of wrestling promotions. whenever they hit a certain level, they start like, we need to hit every major, well-known TV wrestling trope. So they're doing all these things, and it just sort of feels blah. Like TNA, unfortunately, there was a time when TNA, what was it, like 3 years ago, had Jordan Grace, Deonna Purrazzo, Mickie James. It was like, no, this women's division is headlining their pay-per-views and is fantastic and one of the major reasons to watch this company. And now, by perception, it's a breeding ground for a breeding ground for a breeding ground. And that just sucks, you know?
I'm looking at it because I was like, I don't remember the full list of the people. So this was November. So it's not that long ago, especially in the realm of storytelling and pro wrestling. In November, it was Santana and Macklin, who of course are feuding with each other, against Kazarian and Nemeth. And they got the whole invasion thing. This is the group that did the invasion. Lexis King, Stax, Charlie Dempsey. So 3 people in that group. And involvement by proxy with the whole Arianna Grace Santino thing. So another person in there. Brooks Jensen, another guy that could be in this birthright thing, but they just want to have him on Evolve. Robert Stone, who went from I'm the subordinate to Ava and a commentator on Evolve to an authority figure in TNA to not an authority figure in TNA anymore because now Sonya Deville's in that spot while he takes over the Evolve spot for like a week, but then it takes over the Ava spot, and then now Sam Roberts is doing commentary on Evolve. And then it was also Tyreek Igwe and Tyson DuPont, who are completely MIA and can't even show up on Evolve anymore. This is a mess. And it seems like it's not that hard to just solve either. Just have the birthright people, because it's the same group. So just if you want to throw Jensen in there, throw Jensen in there. But it's King and Grace and Dempsey and Stax. And then you throw Uriah Connors in there because he's already in the group now. Igwe and DuPont, if you guys like them, then put them on TV on Evolve or something. And then have them be part of the authority thing and have them be like, maybe that's, there's either she's on the Santino side with her father and that they just completely abandon that story and do the 180 switch, or she's on Daria Ray's side. Pretty simple. But it's a weird choice. Yeah. They take the belt off of Stax and Grace is like, I'm upset with you and I'm going to break up with you because we can't be a power couple. And then she wins the title and she's like, everything's great. Okay.
Right. Because it seems like they went from not really wanting to do the couple idea to like, now they're one of the featured acts on NXT. It's very clear that everything shuffled so quick that NXT's kind of in a weird spot. TNA is in a weird spot, but they're always in a weird spot because they're TNA. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel going forward. I do stand by my comments that Grace is better than she was, but that's because consider the starting point.
Yeah. Yeah, she's improved. And she's got character. Like, I like Grace, but it's just, this is messy. Like, I don't blame anything of that on her or like the birthright people. I blame it on the creative teams not knowing what the fuck they're doing and just being like, each week they're just like, I don't know, I guess we'll change this and we'll just do this, whatever, instead of like sticking to a story. It's all messy. Very quick, some other things that happened on the show though, because most of it's kind of meh. Mance Warner beats Action Mike Jackson and then has a whole thing with AJ Francis. I'm not invested at all.
Action Mike Jackson is 76. I think that's worth noting. Yeah, amazing that he's wrestling, but not much to say there overall.
Yeah. Elegance brand retained the tag titles over Indy Hartwell and Zy Brookside, and then Mickie James returned and started fighting with Ash by Elegance. So I didn't watch Impact last night because I never do. And I'm assuming that they followed up on that story, but Mickie James being back is interesting.
Mickie James going back to TNA is pretty interesting to me.
You mean as opposed to a WWE?
Yeah, just as opposed to she could show up on, if she wants to wrestle, she could show up on any show, and it would make sense and no one would question it. So the fact that she continues to choose TNA, I think is an interesting choice.
Truth be told, as much as I'm a fan of Mickie James, I think that maybe WWE wasn't interested. And it probably was
I just thought she wasn't wrestling anymore.
Yeah, probably not, but I'd see
she could fill the Ava role, and it'd be more interesting than Robert Stone.
I like the idea of Mickie doing more stuff, and if she's able to go in the ring, I'm down for her just wrestling. Because she's a wrestler overall, but if they wanted to make her let's just say, in theory, if they were like, hey, if you're interested in Mickie, do you want to be the NXT general manager? I'd be like, try her out. Why not? She could suck, but so could anybody. Kurt Hennig wasn't a good commentator. It was worth trying out. Out of all the examples I could possibly go with, I'd go with Kurt Hennig on commentary.
I was gonna say that's a weird choice.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason, I immediately just thought of him at the commentary table at the '96 Royal Rumble. Yeah. So I mean, Mickie being back in the mix there, maybe she has a match with Arianna Grace. Maybe they build towards something there. I'm kind of assuming Grace is going to drop the title to the whole now we come back around to Indy Hartwell side of things, but you never know. I mean, I didn't anticipate the last couple championships going the way that they were, so maybe they don't even know. I'm still confused about the whole Righteous and Hardy's thing. They lost to Order 4, and then Elijah came out with a guitar-shaped casket because of the match with Mustafa Ali, which
I think that match should have been at the show, not at the TV show, but
kind of strikes me more as a pay-per-view thing, yeah.
I mean, I haven't watched it yet, but I was interested in the idea of okay, if you're gonna have a guy who plays guitar, you could do a guitar shaped casket match. That sounds fun, at least.
I thought the casket was awesome. The idea of the casket and everything, that looked cool. I'm like, shit, WWE should have thought of that.
It's one of those oh man, if only Jeff Jarrett would have feuded with the Undertaker. That's a great move.
I would have been down for it, especially if you would go back in time. Give me my the Jeff Jarrett that I was a big fan of back in the day, and the Undertaker with the casket matches every once a year you'd get a casket match out of the Undertaker type thing. Yeah, I like that the guitar casket concept. They should do more interesting things like that. And then the main event was Santana and Leon Slater against Nick Nemeth and Eddie Edwards, and Steve Macklin went after Santana, and for some reason the referee didn't just say okay, well, the match is thrown out. Instead, it was Leon Slater just has to fight the two of them, and Leon Slater eventually wins. So they are really trying to keep Slater. Even the WWE's we're taking that motherfucker.
No, I think he's good for the majority of the year, so I think he's the next in line for that Henry, you're gonna get the belt, but it's with the full knowledge that you're leaving. Same Jordan Grace idea too, where it was we know you're leaving, but hey, we're still gonna use you.
You think that they're gonna world champion him?
They could. Option C is a thing.
Because the whole Slater's got option C, Nemeth has the trophy, Edwards has the Feast or Fired. Slater looks out good at the end there, but
everybody's got a gimmick. You get a shot, and you get a shot, and that's so funny. That's the most.
Macklin doesn't though. Radical. Macklin's not even supposed to have a job, and he's the one that's most directly feuding with him, right? Isn't that a little bit weird?
Well, that tells you that Macklin's going to end up with the belt overall.
Probably right, or it'll end up being Tyson DuPont.
I mean, it's the most obvious case of TNA deciding to now just completely kill, as I even mentioned about the whole Trey Miguel winning the title. Like now they just decided, okay, now we're just going to totally kill the entire concept of the Feast of Fire briefcase by having the guy who got the fire briefcase immediately come back on TV and immediately start feuding with our champion. It's like,
Yeah.
well, okay, so this whole thing doesn't mean anything anymore. So, as I know some people always thought the Feast of Fire thing was a bit funny anyway because it's a bit of a weird way to just cut ties with someone. But I thought if you're getting rid of someone anyway, it's an interesting way of doing it. But now you just go, psych, he's not actually fired, and just let's move on. And we just use that as the propellant for him to turn heel and start a feud with Santana. Is just okay. No need to buy into that stipulation anymore.
It does feel like they just immediately got rid of it. Like, not even, it's been 2 months or something. They were just kind of like, 1 week he's fired, next week he's back. It's the Juan Cena thing. Wasn't that 1 week? He was like, he's fired because of Netflix thing, and then it was like in the crowd that next episode or something.
Yeah, he came out
like a month of house shows with it, but I don't think he ever showed up on TV.
Well, he wrestled as Juan Cena, but the week after on TV was when he cost the Nexus tag titles against Santino and Kozlov. That was the next week after he left the company, well, quote unquote left the company. And then and until he was officially reinstated for that match with Wade Barrett, he wrestled as Juan Cena on the house circuit. So,
yeah, Feast or Fired is not the.
It's like CM Punk. It's like this, like the CM Punk thing of like him, them doing that tournament for the championship. Well, CM Punk was supposed to be on the Indies defending the actual WWE Championship, and then he just comes back to have that match with Cena at SummerSlam. It's like just get rid of all of the intrigue immediately and just go straight to. We're just going to do this now instead.
Yeah, so that's the TNA side of things. So take with that what you will, and going forward, it could change to something completely the opposite at any moment, and then WWE will just sort of be like, all right, well, whatever, and TNA will just be like, yep, whatever. Let's see, what should we'll do some quick hit things here, things that we don't really have much to specifically talk about because we don't really know that much, but Ulka, I don't know how to pronounce it, Sasaki from Pro Wrestling Noah is going to be heading to NXT. None of us know anything about him, so I guess be on the lookout, but hey, it's a story.
I thought the last guy that did this was good, and I hope that this is good as well.
You mean Yoshiki Inamura?
Yoshiki Inamura. Yeah.
I'm surprised that just sort of, they spent months and months with that whole story, and then they were like, I don't know, are they not interested in signing him, or is he just doing stuff elsewhere?
Well, Inamura's their world champion. He's the world champion of Noah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, good for him. Yeah. That's awesome.
So that's a good signal for whoever this guy is coming into. Get your run in NXT, and then you just become world champion pretty soon afterwards.
Another thing that we can't personally speak on, but it was a big story within some wrestling circles and stuff, was Kerwin Silfies passing away. Longtime WWE employee of a couple different jobs, it seems, but we never worked with him. But it seems like everybody was very upset about that, and that he was really, really well liked.
I thought it was really nice that AEW paid tribute to him, and that they had Tony Schiavone and Bryan Danielson say their piece, and I thought that was really classy. And this is a rare one where a lot of people came out and said a lot of really nice things. This was a guy who was right there for a lot of what we saw in the development of what WWE is, and huge loss for the company.
Yeah, it was cool that Danielson was able to say that. That's how, people should react, instead of just being like, well, it's a different company thing, so we can't, whatever, or some kind of bullshit, This is a non-WWE thing, but it might be an interest to some people that are involved in this side of things. Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano are going to have some MMA fight, not through UFC, on May 16th on Netflix. I think it's supposed to be part of that dumbass Jake Paul's stuff. I don't plan on watching it. There was a point in time where I was like, oh my God, Ronda Rousey is like super cool and I might actually start watching UFC. There was a point in time where I'm like, Gina Carano is this super hot, MMA fighter and that's interesting and whatever. And then, what was it? I believe Carano was trying to say that like wearing a mask during COVID was like being in the Holocaust or something, which is like, my God, I can't wrap my mind around the way that people reacted to that. It was like, you're all insane if you think that wearing a mask to try to prevent yourself and others from getting sick is some kind of, I'm being oppressed type bullshit. So, based off of the Ronda Rousey kind of seems like, I don't really like her either. So if it's a Ronda Rousey and a Gina Carano thing with a Jake Paul thing, I kind of just hope everybody gets, beat the crap at the end of this. Nobody wins. It's not the can't everybody just have fun sort of thing. It's almost the opposite, but we're not an MMA fighting type site. I don't know. Figured I'd mention it. Quick hit. Might end up being a thing on the podcast going forward. Maybe we'll just do like, hey, quick hit, blah, 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 and then move on. Here are some trademarks, though, we can get into a little bit better. Actually, two of them, who knows? One of them is a ring name of Tristan Angels, which sounds very...
So real
WWE.
quick, I don't know when the last time you checked this, but there's 5 names and 3 gaming-related trademarks from
There's
WWE.
5 names now. I only saw 2. I saw Tristan Angels and Dorian Van Dux, or Van Dux, or Van Dux.
So on top of Tristan Angels and Dorian Van Dux, there is CJ Valor, Santi Rivera, and Romeo Moreno. And I think Santi Rivera is just a wild name for evil. But, what are you going to do?
What are the other ones? Let me try to look that up.
CJ Valor, Santi Rivera, I am looking it up right from the USPTO, and Romeo Moreno.
Did nobody seemed to be like reporting on this? I'm not even seeing.
Because I looked it up directly, and they probably haven't gotten to it yet. I no longer work in wrestling media. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I'm typing CJ Valor is coming up with nothing on the internet. Is it CJ and then Valor, just like V-A-L-O-R?
It's C.J. Valor.
Yeah, I guess nobody's reporting this.
What are you going to do?
Send me the link. Because I'll the other 2, I don't know how to do those 2.
That is the proper website for all your trademarking needs.
So CJ Valor, Santi Rivera, Romeo Moreno. The only one that's been tied to anybody right now is Tristan Angels. That is apparently somebody who has, like, I didn't even have on my radar at all, but their name was Nathaniel Cranston or Nathan Angel. And as far as I'm aware, that's not a name that I have come across in any kind of like, this person's uninvolved, this person was on LFG, anything like that. Same with the other names. I don't know. They all just sound like names. None of them stand out as interesting. So for all we know, one of them is like a rebranding of somebody like the Chris Island or Shady Nahas or Francois Prince Lou, whatever. We still don't even know what fucking brand Bryce Keys is on. So, names are names. But when it comes to the video games, WWE Domination, WWE Generations, and WWE Eras Collide. And I'm looking at the post from Insider Gaming from a certain Robert E. Felice about that. Because you're the first one that comes up about that.
Hey, thanks, Pat.
So I didn't even know that I was clicking on that when and seeing that was your post. But there you go.
That's so comforting. Yeah, so Domination, is the most unique of the names, because Generations and Eras Collide suggests clearly that we're headed towards a game kind of like All Stars from 2011, where it's old era versus new era. I am dying for a new wrestling game that is not just the WWE 2K series. I'm hoping we're getting an arcade style Eras Collide video game.
That All-Star game was like, I didn't play it, but it looked like it was the type of game that would be kind of fun. Like, you pair off certain people and be like, okay, well, this person against that person, Andre versus Big Show, like that kind of type. I liked that concept. Characters were a little bit weird, but yeah. That's the same when it comes to almost anything. It's like, an animated series or a video game or whatever, you have a certain style and you might like that style, you might not. And I thought that it was a little cartoony and ridiculous and I didn't really like it. But then again, when you look at some of the stuff from like the 2K things, some of them don't look that great either. So if you want to go a little bit more stylized, cool. Try that every once in a while. But I would assume that this is not 3 separate games. And it's more so that they just don't necessarily know which game title that they want to go with. Because,
right,
Eras Collide and Generations seem like it's the same idea. Domination, maybe that could be something different. I don't know. But it could be dominating the eras or, whatever.
It's a matter of how stylized do you want to get, I believe. And I can see a world where they land on either Generations or Domination, because of the fact that it's a one-word title. It's easier to market. Dumb things like that we don't need to consider. But like, I'm just excited for the idea of a new video game.
Now that I have both the regular PlayStation or the regular Nintendo Switch, not Switch 2, but now that I have a PlayStation 5, is there more of a chance that I would play this? No.
I think it would depend on the style of game, and they might be on a crazy discount and you might get bored.
Truth be told, if it was $5, I wouldn't pay for it.
But I know that, knowing you as a person.
For anybody that's been curious, I've been the only game that I have for PlayStation 5 now that I have that is Spider-Man from PlayStation 4, actually. And I fucking love it. It's fantastic.
Are you playing the first one?
Yep, because I never played it.
Oh my god, that's the best game I've ever played, bar none.
I just keep doing side missions. Even like I haven't even gotten that deep into the story because I keep just wanting to swing around.
It's the best game I've ever played.
I'm only at the part now where I just started talking to the Feast people, and I had the first mission with the demon crew. Whatever that Demon Street Kings, or I don't know, whatever the fuck they're called. I think that's actually something from Gotham. Whatever they're called, the demon people. But yeah, so I would have no plans on playing a WWE game, mostly because I've never really liked WWE or any kind of pro wrestling games. Like, just it's kind of the same as like fighting games in general. Like I used to love Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, but I would love it for like, I don't know, half hour, and then I'd be like, all right, I'm getting kind of tired of this. Wrestling games never really appealed to me. But hey, Domination could be good. Generations could be good. Eras Collide, I don't know.
Okay, I understand what you're saying, and I completely agree. This is the part where I just super nerd out about the idea of innovation and just do something else, even if it's not great. Try something else, please, for the love of God. Like, I'm so excited about this just being an idea, because I'm so desperate for something new.
Watch it be one of those dumb things where it's like, yeah, this is a video game, and by video game we mean it's a mobile app where you can click on a picture.
It's a match 3 mobile app, and suck a dick.
Yeah, I hate that kind of crap so much. Another side thing to talk about here, Paul Walter Hauser says that he is going to be playing Mick Foley in and unannounced and unofficial and whatever, there's no like press release about anything. So it's hard to tell where this is actually going to go for this project, but it's supposed to be some kind of like biopic limited series. And I wouldn't immediately think, hey, Paul Walter Hauser, that's who I would cast as Mick Foley. But I love the idea of Mick Foley series. And Paul Walter Hauser has been...
that this will be about Foley? Or is this just a limited series where Mick Foley will happen to be a character?
I think it's supposed to revolve around Foley.
Okay, like this isn't another show about The Rock, right? This is another show about like it's actually a Vince McMahon deep dive, and Paul Walter Hauser just happens to be playing Mick Foley. I would love a Mick Foley series.
To give you the full breakdown of what he had said, and this is why I mean like there's nothing like official about things and whatever like that. He had said in an interview with The Stunner, quote, yeah, no. I always think it's funny when people say, yeah, no. Yeah, no, we can kind of break that news. I haven't said it yet, but I'm attached to play Mick, a limited series. We haven't gone to the market yet with it, but it's happening. So, of course, there's a chance that this is a project that goes nowhere. It doesn't necessarily mean almost anything as far as like if it's I'm attached to play Mick Foley in a limited series. Is that on YouTube? Is that on Apple TV? Is that a Netflix thing? Is it independently produced? Is it a major company? Is it, anything that could go along with that stuff? Who knows? It seems like if he's saying we haven't gone to market with it yet, that it's more of like an independently produced thing and not some big project. But then again, all the big projects don't necessarily work out either. When the hell are we going to get that Hulk Hogan biopic that Chris Hemsworth? That, right? Yeah, like that's not happening. Not a chance anymore, especially after all the shit that's gone down with Hulk Hogan. So I don't know. I would be a little bit surprised if this actually comes to fruition and we get a chance to see it.
I think it will.
It's stranger things have happened. We had a fucking movie that had Charlotte and Tony Storm and all these other people come out about, an old school wrestling side of things. We had the Iron Claw movie come out. So, there's a market there for an extent of some pro wrestling things. I'm down for a Mick Foley series. I'm down to see what Paul Walter Hauser would end up doing as that character, because again, not exactly the first choice I would pick, but then again, I wouldn't tell you who would be my first choice anyway. Foley's awesome.
I'm totally down for like a series based on Foley's legacy, because like he has had such a diverse and interesting background prior to like his work with WWE and just where he built his the height of his reputation. I'm a little bit like iffy on the Walter Hauser selection, if he's the one that has been chosen to do it, because just feels like they've gone with a slightly, I would see it a wrestling fan, which is good, but a slightly overweight guy, whereas like Paul Walter Hauser now is a fair bit older than when Foley retired from wrestling. Well, had his, he didn't retire, but had that match with Triple H. He's like 4 or 5 years older than Foley was at that point in his career. I think it's a bit of a disservice to Foley to cast Walter Hauser, not for his like either his acting ability or for his love of professional wrestling, but just for the fact that Foley's was not the best looking dude of all time, but he's a pretty like
Foley was a handsome guy. Handsome Jack Foley over there, yeah.
And I just don't. And again, I don't say like I think that Walter Hauser is ugly, but he just doesn't look like Foley did in his prime. Like, and I know it's hard to find someone that does that, and also would be a good enough actor to live up to that standard as well. But it just feels like too much of a departure for me. Just gone with like a guy who is an actor who is a very public and well-known wrestling fan in terms of having matches with Ring of Honor and being involved in that stuff as well, and on the indies. So it's like, okay, you've gone with the wrestling actor rather than let's find someone who actually fits the aesthetic of Foley.
It depends on what era Foley we're discussing, what the topic of the series is, and if this is legitimately like even peak Foley, and I'm not considering his matches with Hunter even peak because he had started to put on some weight there, but I mean like
Cactus Jack type, or are you thinking?
Well, it sounds laughable because he was attached to Hogan, but Hemsworth with some darker hair could pull off Foley. Foley was a good-looking guy. He just hid his body. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was a good-looking guy. You could play a lot of Hollywood, leading man types for Foley.
I mean, obviously, yeah, it'd be good to, like, for a lot of people that aren't familiar, but then again, the only people that go and watch this series are wrestling fans. And a lot of those wrestling fans will have watched Mick Foley in WWF as in his prime and doing the Mankind stuff. I'm not saying you don't reference that because they'd be stupid not to, but I want to hear the stories or people's life of Foley wrestling death matches in Japan, and like his stuff in like All Japan Pro Wrestling, or his stuff like on the in the early days of WCW and his early stuff in the territories when he was still trying to find himself and figuring out the Cactus Jack or Cactus Jack Manson character. Like and then his ECW stuff, because that is like a very pivotal part of the change of his perception, the promos that he was cutting, the very like vehement stuff that he was doing where he was begging WCW to hire him back, obviously as part of the storyline, so I think that's the more interesting stuff that wrestling fans will know, or hardcore wrestling fans will know about, but ones that only really know him for his WWE time would be actually intrigued or interested. Like, say, I never knew that about Foley, or like, this is actually really compelling. I might want to go check some of this stuff out. And then obviously you finish it off, because at the end of the day, the end of his career is WWF. That is the end of his career. Like, he came back every now and again. I know he did the TNA thing, but who wants to see him?
Yeah. there's no
series
story
about his short running TNA. It ends with him like in WWF. So like that's your final 2-3 episodes of a limited series, and then you've got all the stuff, the 5-6 episodes before that, where you're molding who he is. You're building anticipation for him going to WWF and becoming Mankind, becoming Dude Love, and all this other stuff. So yeah, I think that, and in that case, if it's not being filmed, or whenever it's being filmed, you're going to have a 40-year-old Paul Walter Hauser trying to portray a 20-something-year-old Mick Foley.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, do you go back to like, is Kevin James going to be in this? Because they were on the same like wrestling team in high school. And then do you cast Kevin James as Kevin James?
Well, if you cast Kevin James, you can't cast Kevin James as Kevin James, but you can put him.
I mean, to be honest, he looks like he kind of looks the same. You just de-age him.
I mean, do you cast like Dwayne Johnson, or do you find someone to play Dwayne Johnson? Do you bring the guy from Young Rock in to play?
Yeah, that guy was great as the young Dwayne. But like, if you look at the picture, for instance, of and this is where, like, if I put it up on the screen, I would have to do a whole bunch of shit to get it up on there. But if you look at the picture of Kevin James when he's young and Mick Foley when he's young, like, you would not think that that's Mick Foley. The beard alone, beards and hair change people's faces a lot, but age plus beard plus hair plus losing teeth plus gaining weight, there's a big difference between young Mick Foley and the Mick Foley that everybody is aware of. And I like, the first person that comes to my mind of young Mick Foley is somebody like, there's a comedian named Jeff Dye that used to date Becky Lynch. I don't know if he's done any acting, but like, he's the first guy I can think of that like kind of looks like him. And you get into more of like, I don't know, when you're going to cast like a Jacob Elordi to feel like Mick Foley, and then Paul Walter Hauser plays the older version of him. Like, it's just, there's a certain, I get why that somebody would look at a Paul Walter Hauser and think he equals Mick Foley type. And I'm looking on mycast.io, which is a really good website for like fan casting stuff. And it's funny because it's like everybody has the same few picks. Everybody's like, if I'm going to fan cast Mick Foley, it's going to be Jack Black, Zach Galifianakis, Nick Offerman, Paul Walter Hauser. It's basically it.
Yeah, but that's all people who look like Foley now.
Right.
Or look like Foley at the very back end of his career. But it's like, yeah, it's like the other...
I mean, there are some weird ones. Like one person's got Kevin Nealon as Mick Foley. One person's got Alan Tudyk and Andy Serkis and Adam Sandler and, you know, whatever. A lot of people going for comedic people. Bill Hader. Okay, one person's got Jason Momoa. You know, I would totally...
I mean, less tan, but
yeah.
I know a little bit of a gut.
It is kind of funny that this person's got, in the same group, this is their group of who they think could be cast as Mick Foley. Paul Walter Hauser, some dude from Game of Thrones named Christian Nairn. I don't know, never heard of him. Zach Galifianakis, Nick Offerman, Danny McBride, David Harbour, Jason Momoa, John Cena, Bill Hader. You're all over the place there if you think John Cena, Jason Momoa, and Zach Galifianakis could all play the same character. All three of them look completely different from each other.
Can I ask, like, as someone who just obviously doesn't watch a lot of movies in general, like, did they stop producing actors after about, like, 2010 or something?
They stopped producing
people just
everything.
have no imagination.
No, but they stopped producing it. Like, this is a different conversation for, like, a fanboys podcast. But everything's a remake. I work in gaming media. I've never read or written the word remake and remaster. That's all anybody's doing is just, hey, that thing we did 20 years ago, just do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Go.
Well, on the fan cast side of things, people have no imaginations, and people are not fan casting in the sense of like an actual casting agent would, because you get people like oh god, what's the name of the kid that he's in the Black Phone? He's really good in everything I've seen him in. He's not Brenton Thwaites because that's a different guy, but it's like a name kind of like that. Mason Thames or Thames or Thames, I don't know. He's in Black Phone and How to Train Your Dragon and some other things or whatever. Like, this is a young actor. I think he might even not even be like 20 yet or something. And like, he must have been a no name for the Black Phone. Very good in that. And then he's been in like 2 or 3 other things that I've seen him in, and he's been really good in everything like that. And it's like immediately he then jumps to the top of everybody's casting of like, he could be Nightwing, he could be Spider-Man, he could be this, he could be that. And it's like, yeah, he could, but now you just know his name. So now he's just another one of those actors who you cycle in. Like, I've seen people be like, McKenna Grace would be a good Gwen Stacy. And it's like, yeah, she probably would be a really good Gwen Stacy. In fact, she might be like one of the best possible options for a Gwen Stacy, but also who knows who is out there. So like, there could be a perfect Mick Foley who is just an unknown, but somebody would go, why don't we put Jack Black in there? And then you're like, well, Jack Black is like 60 or something. So you can't necessarily just have Jack Black be every person who's a funny, kind of hefty guy. But I could see a younger Jack Black being a Mick Foley. Yeah, sure. And Jack Black's 56 apparently, so not quite 60. But
I'd rather Jack Black for the Nacho Libre biopic.
Maybe it's a crossover. Maybe this is like a, you know, an Avengers thing. I don't know. I mean, there are lots of people that I think play lots of different characters very, very well. And I've seen Paul Walter Hauser in a few projects, and everything I've seen him in, he's been great in. Like the one about the Olympics, fantastic in that. Richard Jenkins, he was a good mole man in Fantastic Four. You know, so if they think that he's got something there for Mick Foley, I'm down to watch it. Mick Foley is awesome. He's a fucking national treasure. And Paul Walter Hauser seems like a cool dude too. So if we hear more about that, then we will let you guys know. And if it is something that gets produced and we get to watch it, maybe we'll do some kind of thing on the podcast about it. By the way, quick side note, when the fuck is that American Gladiator show coming out?
Probably summer.
Because that show was filmed last summer, and I haven't heard a peep about it. Like, not one single, hey, we might have a trailer in this time, or there might be a release date around this. Nothing. Really weird. I mean, they filmed it all, so it's like you gotta produce it, you gotta, whatever. But I don't know. So yeah, stay tuned for any more information when it comes to a Mick Foley biopic or Mick Foley limited series or Mick Foley something or other. And I don't know, what would you call it? What would that series be called?
If it's about Foley?
Yeah.
And do I have to be like punny with it?
Like, do you just call it Mrs. Foley's baby boy?
Call it Kind Man.
Kind Man.
I mean, he is a very kind man.
Or just go Have a Nice Day, the Mick Foley story or something like that.
So I mean, like, if it's directly about Foley, I name it Kind Man and I call it that's it. If it's like a wrestling related thing, it's probably like Broken in Half or something. Because the show is going to start with some dramatic version of the comedic. Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got here. As he's being chucked off the fucking top of that.
What the hell in a cell?
Because that's all his story is. Even if it's a dramatic story about his issues with concussions subsequently after his retirement, you're starting it with that throw off top of the cage because that is his career.
Now, do you have the Undertaker throws him and you stop it midway through when he's still falling and it just has a freeze frame and do the exact thing you were talking about you're probably wondering, how do I get thrown off this dude?
It's not a comedy, so no.
Or do you start with him backstage on a stretcher with thumbtacks in his body being like, did we do the thumbtacks? And Mick, check your arm. And then it's like, oof. And then you get, the title pops up on the screen and it's Ode to Freud.
So like if I was gonna do it, it'd be a serious story, and I'd probably have him sitting in some kind of doctor's office, whether he's getting an MRI or something, and the doctor's just like, this is your brain, this is your body, whatever he's getting scanned on, this is your brain, or how is your body in such condition, and you just see like a quick like pan of all the different vicious bumps he's taken, and it's just like, yeah, but I think I can work a match around one leg. And it's just like, no, you're not wrestling it. Something like that. Because he's got a lot of great stories of just doctors being like, what?
How fuck, man?
How are you alive?
Maybe you call it Wreck. That's another one of the names of his
that's the name of his theme song. You can probably get it.
Like I mentioned, Ode to Freud. Like you wouldn't go Ode to Freud. People would think it would be a Sigmund Freud movie. Something about the Bang Bang thing or whatever. Maybe just call it Dude Love. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe it's not a thing about him in wrestling at all. Maybe it's just him as Santa Claus. Just a whole movie about Mick Foley as Santa Claus. And it's called Saint Mick.
At that it could be called Saint Mick. That I'd believe. Or like I'd steal it from WWE and be like, Smiles on Faces, because like Mick Foley is somebody who legitimately has dedicated his life to Smiles on Faces.
Faces of Foley. That could be another name.
That's actually a really good name.
Man. Do this movie or limited series or whatever. Shit, make it Faces of Foley and make each episode about each one of the personas. So it's like Faces of Foley, episode 1, Cactus Jack, episode 2, Dude Love, whatever. Fuck, now I want the series. Even more so. Produce that. And also,
we got a lot of good conversation out of a thing that I thought was going to be like a blip.
I had a feeling that I might end up going on a bunch of tangents about it. And this might end up being the thumbnail for all I know. Let's see. Let's mention some pay-per-view stuff that's happening. Vengeance Day is now set for March 7th with no venue, no location. They had to pull the Atlanta show from this next episode of NXT because they had some kind of issue with like the parking lot and their trucks and the performance like production side of things. So instead they're going to go to Houston, I think, in like March the 14th or so. But we got Roadblock and we got this Houston thing, and then we were supposed to have this Atlanta thing, and then we got Vengeance Day, and then they still haven't announced anything about Stand and Deliver, which is really weird. But the fact that now they are going to have some kind of pay-per-view on March 7th about Vengeance Day, and that I didn't notice them saying where you could watch it, which is interesting. So maybe I just missed that, but the assumption would probably be that it'll be on Netflix or ESPN, because if they didn't announce any other kind of deal, you only have a few more days before that happens. It's a little bit more than 2 weeks away. You got to start actually telling people where they could buy tickets and stuff. So maybe it's not anywhere other than just the Performance Center, and then they could just do that or whatever. But it's a very strange situation happening with that lately. And then there is the WWE Clash in Italy premium live event that's announced for Sunday, May 31st in Turin, Italy, which that's been confirmed, but the other rumor is Night of Champions in Saudi on June 27th, which, wait on that. I hate the Night of Champions name. I think it's stupid. It's superfluous and it means nothing. There are champions on every pay-per-view. This is not Night of Champions anymore, where that used to be the night of everybody defending their titles. Instead, it is quite literally just a name of nothing. It could be named Backlash. It could be named anything, and it's the exact same pay-per-view. So I don't know why they like Night of Champions so much, but clearly WWE likes, or at least Triple H likes, the name Clash. Because now every single we're in somewhere is just Clash. Unless you're Berlin, and then it's Bash in Berlin for some reason. But it's just Clash at the Castle, Clash in Paris, Clash in Italy. No.
It's a new takeover thing.
It seems like it, yeah. So just call it Takeover then at that point, like WWE Takeover Italy.
No, because then every pay-per-view would be named Takeover, because if you've noticed, even Backlash is Backlash Tampa. It's like Royal Rumble Riyadh. Like, they love saying where they are. Hate it.
Yeah, they've gotten past it's not Backlash 2026, it's Backlash Tampa. But WWE Clash in Italy. Oh my God, it's boring as shit. But hey,
I guess
Italy.
I guess I'm just glad that we haven't hit the point of WWE Clash 45, and they're all just called Clash, and they're numbered. Like the UFC events, like it's UFC 412 or whatever.
It's just another lineup in the country, so they can fleece a huge amount of money out of for a one-off show. It's like, I assume Spain will be next in the lineup when they eventually get to there. Spain next year, then maybe I don't know, go to Austria, go to Sweden, something like that.
They still haven't done India, Japan as these more modern shows like Clash in Paris and stuff.
So crowds can chant in their own language about how they were fleeced for their tickets, so they can buy anything else.
That way they can milk those audiences, because the audience for WrestleMania is I'm not paying this much fucking money. And then they're like, but what if we give you 12% off? And they're like, no, that's still the fucking down payment of a car. And they're like, yeah, but we want it. Please just spend $8,000 for a fucking nosebleed ticket. Don't you want to sit down and watch this on a monitor and pay $20,000? No, fuck you.
I think that is kind of going under the radar about how many tickets for WrestleMania are still out. I know it's a case of they don't have a full card or anything, but you never needed a full card for WrestleMania to sell out.
Mm-hmm.
You've priced out the consumer.
Right.
People do not want to pay $9,000 for
For the chance that the show that they don't even know what's going to happen on it could potentially be good. Because keep in mind, if you knew the full card, it still could suck, even if you are interested in every single match. But if you don't even know more than one match on the show as like a guarantee, and it's not even a guarantee either, like technically speaking, like if you're going to buy a ticket for CM Punk versus Roman Reigns, which to me, that's not worth spending thousands of dollars for anyway, then if you're going to buy a ticket for that, one of them could get injured. And then what? Oh, card subject to change. Fuck you, pal. So you're gambling on that you'll even get what you don't know right now. And then you're also gambling that it'll actually be good.
And let's be real, they gambled on greed.
Mm-hmm.
Because this was supposed to be New Orleans. And Vegas just paid more. Maybe a family of 4 that's struggling, or even the couple dual income, no kids, are like, hey, we did Vegas last year, let's not go. Or hey, let's just go do the collective. Let's not do any of the WWE events.
Yeah.
Kind of burnt out on them. They're greedy. Fuck them.
Let's spend $200 and go to see Sandman beat himself up.
Because that's a thing, by the way. Like, there are options at this time. You know, there's plenty of wrestling fans who maybe just want to go to the collective. You don't need to go to Mania if you've already gone. You know?
Also, we didn't talk about this, but WWE doing the whole thing of not letting people have watch parties. If you're in the area and it's like you're a local bar or whatever, and you are doing watch parties for everything else like that, WWE thinks that they can like hotshot this and be like, you know, hey, well, we're not allowing it. Do you really think you're going to get any more fucking money out of this? Do you think that somebody who would pay whatever the cover fee is to go to a bar to watch WrestleMania is going to go, okay, well, since I can't do that, I guess what I'm going to do is pay $12,000 to go to the fucking show. No, they're not. You know what they're going to do? They're going to sit at fucking home. And they're either going to, at most, pay $30 for ESPN, or they're going to get a group of their friends together, and one of them is going to spend $30, and they're going to do the exact same thing, but they're going to drink at their own house. And I'm not the type of person who's done the go to a bar for a show thing, mostly because I'm not a drinker, so like that whole aspect is not there for me. But yeah, I have done the let's get together at Dace's and all watch a UFC show or whatever.
Yeah, let's all buy a pizza. And
let's all chip in. We get 3 pizzas, and
who's got the VPN? We'll go to his house. We'll watch it on Netflix.
Exactly. And it'll cost us $30 each, and we'll eat and drink whatever we want to drink, and
we'll casually watch the show.
And at that point in time, he lives down the street from me, so I don't have to pay for parking or any, like whatever that kind of shit too. I don't have to fucking get a hotel. I don't have to do this, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, then I have fun with my friends. You're gonna price out the bars or whatever? Oh, you just don't want people to like your product? Fuck you then. Like, I hope that this tanks. I hope that this is like one of those WrestleManias where they're just kind of like, well, fuck, man. We really botched this one.
Backlash is 20 minutes for me. And even I'm like, you'd have to announce, like, I'm going to get to see a match that I never would have imagined I'd get the chance to see to Get Up and Go. And not only Get Up and Go, but also, again, I'll say it again, give money to this company. Because you're not giving money to Netflix. You're not giving money. When you're going to a show, you're directly supporting WWE, and that has its own layers of baggage right now.
Yeah, I don't want to give that money to this fucking organization and that type be in that kind of problem. No.
And I'll say
I'm looking at Roblox tickets right now because Roblox going to be Madison Square Garden, the Infosys Theater inside of there.
Right, so can't say Madison Square Garden. It's the theater at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, because it's not the main thing or whatever. to get the good seats based off of what Ticketmaster, which fuck Ticketmaster, by the way, for anybody that's, not on that front. Ticketmaster is a bunch of shit. Okay, yeah, I was like, oh, this actually might be doable. Never mind. I clicked on the thing itself. To get a seat on the second row of the hard camera, like ringside, where like you would pop up on like camera or whatever. So one seat. Not bad considering all the other things, but one seat for that, $598.25.
For the NXT, to be clear,
for a TV NXT episode of NXT
television show where he might see Shiloh Hill face Uriah Connors.
Right.
Not, though they might go on to be the best wrestlers of all time.
It could end up being a Blake Monroe in-ring promo segment and a backstage vignette of Birthright and whatever. Yeah. To get one seat without factoring in all the other kind of, the prices that go along with, oh, this is a ticket fee and this is a whatever fee and this is a fuck you fee and this is a we just want it fee. But the base subtotal right now to get one ticket would be at least $600. So if I went, Caroline and I, to go to an NXT TV show, it would be $1,500 essentially. And we are a 15-minute walk from the venue. So we don't even have to pay for, obviously, any kind of the transportation would be, we either walk there for free or we spend $12 in tickets for the, $350 from each of us both ways on the train. So yeah, not happening. I'm not spending $1,000+ to go watch NXT.
I just got onto Ticketmaster myself for Backlash. I mean, to get seats, to get 2 seats in row, section 110, row W. Yeah, like, which will probably be row fuck you. It's $554. Now is this per? Hold on. All right, now I could say, given everything we know, $554 for 2 tickets is a little better.
That's cheaper. Wait, no, you were saying it's like the really terrible seats, right?
Yeah, I just clicked on a random section. Let's see where we end up after fees and such.
And this is like top row, like nosebleeds.
This would be like nosebleeds for me. Let's see. They're trying to, add on all this extra shit.
You did rust proofing, just in case.
So we're coming out total $554, and that's with like $100 service fee, because that's also ridiculous. Like, they can't pay for your tickets. You got to buy a $100 service fee. That's if I don't get, insurance on the tickets, or you know what I mean. Like, it's too expensive. And again, it's Backlash, so hopefully I'd see Punk, but maybe I'd only see Kiana James and Julia wrestle for the tag titles. Again, I like Julia, but they're not making it worthwhile. All this talk to say they're not making it worthwhile. Callum can buy tickets to All in London, knowing that he's going to go see the show of his life.
Right. Yeah, like you have you've made that gamble before, and I would assume out of the couple different shows that you've been to, that you probably think that you got your money's worth, right?
Yeah, I'll say that. I think it's one of those weird things that, like, yeah, absolutely. Like, any AEW show I've gone to 3 AEW shows, including Forbidden Door last year, and they've all been like great shows, a lot of fun. I will say none of them have been the best show that AEW have done that year, which is a little bit pissy, picking up a little bit. But there's always been at least one better show, especially like last year. Like because All In was, an extra show that was like awesome to be part of that full Wembley Stadium, and then All Out was like 5 times better than that show. But other than that, yeah, obviously that hasn't deterred me. I'm definitely gonna be shelling out even more money this year to get another ticket.
But that's like also like you're paying for some travel stuff and you're going and
That's a train.
Yeah,
it's
still something. It's still something.
At the end of the day, even he knows, hey, I'm gonna get, as long as they're healthy, I will get MJF. I will get Will Ospreay. I will get Swerve Strickland. I will get,
I'll get a full card. I'll get
he's getting a full card. That's what I'm saying.
11, 12 good to great matches, and probably one random dud they throw in because they feel like try to we've got a piece of Ray or something. Obviously, that
an 8-man tag of like some whatever. But like you're gonna get wrestling matches on the show.
As opposed to like if I go to Backlash, I'm getting 5 matches tops, and given the state of current affairs, I have to hope that maybe they feel like having both world champions wrestle that night.
Mm-hmm. Which most likely they won't. You'll probably get one world title match. You'll probably get one women's title match, which may or may not even be just like the Intercontinental or something, or the tag. You'll get one like standard feud, and then you'll get like kind of like mid-card belt thing. And that'll be about it. And you'll get lots of video packages, and you'll be bombarded with a bunch of, but this one's the, during the break between this, we got to advertise Minute Maid, and then during this match, it's the Hillshire Farm Little Smokies ladder match or some kind of shit,
And that's and this is the last thing I'll say about it, because I know we're running long, but I'll say it every time we talk about this topic. At a time where Vince McMahon, it looks like the absolute fucking scum of the earth, that you would make a fucking public statement making this guy look like someone who cares about families and who is selfless because he wasn't maximizing profit. You're disgusting.
It just goes to show you how evil and how just psychotic, money grubbing, terrible people are, where it's like they think that putting out a statement of being like, well, it was a bad thing that we used to price for families.
Vince McMahon used to really want to make sure parents could take their kids to the show.
Yeah, and it's like, you think that you saying that is okay. Well, because in your mind, you're just speaking to money.
That's all anything is anymore. Everybody's speaking to investors. This comment is being made public because investors will see it and know that their money is our utmost priority.
It's so stupid.
That sucks. That sucks to cover as a media person. That sucks to
just live
be in as a fan. That sucks. It sucks as a human.
Yeah, keep in mind, everybody, if you support the people that are the billionaires that do this stuff, they are evil and terrible and fuck you and all those kind of things. We get back into that discussion again.
And I will come in with the softer touch and say, I understand at the end of the day, world's bad enough and you got to find your entertainment somewhere. But you don't need to take up for these companies when they make these comments.
No.
Even if you're like, I will get the thing because I need my entertainment.
Yeah.
You don't need to take up for the company when they make the comments.
No, you can denounce being a bad person at all. By the way, I fully support Kayla Braxton. I want what she said to happen, among other things as well. Kayla, you're awesome. And anybody who hates you for saying that Donald Trump should not be in the WWE Hall of Fame can burn themselves alive. And
just to really quickly tack on to that, because I know we won't be touching it, but I do think it's important. Janelle Grant has made her first public appearance. I encourage everybody to watch the full appearance, listen to what she had to say, and really absorb her words.
Yeah, we're not talking about that on this show, mostly, to be honest, because I haven't watched it, and I don't want to just like wait and do a whole thing but also because it's a very confusing thing. And what I've read, I am very confused about because it just, I don't know, comes across in a weird way to me. And I don't want to be throwing stuff out there that could be like, misrepresenting a situation that's very, very serious and all. But go ahead and check that out. And bad people should be punished. Good things are good, but bad things are bad. And if you support a bad thing, fuck you. It's as simple as that. There's a right and a wrong in the universe, and it's not that hard to make the distinction. It's the same phrase over and over again. Speaking of that, Kevin Nash had spoken about Javon Evans recently and said something that, as one would expect, came across very poor. He has since apologized about it, but his apology is not really the best apology that's out there either. And I think that this is one of those. Oh, he deleted it?
And has since been deleted, yes.
So that's even worse. What he had said was that, and I actually bring up the full quote. Let me do it justice. This is in regards to Javon Evans. He's an incredible athlete. He's a little bit too Mr. Bojangles for me. I wish he was a little bit more urban. I understand it's Netflix, and which it's not for most of his whole thing. It's CW for Bajava part of his career, but okay.
He didn't watch NXT.
Yeah. And I understand there's a big world out there besides the one that 66-year-old Detroit boy Kevin Nash wants, but I just want him to have a little bit of an edge. He can strike. He throws a good punch. Take your time and throw a good punch. Maybe put 2 or 3 together. Something where you tell me if this shit was real, all this athleticism I have, I can use it. Not if this was real, I would cartwheel off your body like you would never see. He sells good. I mean, he does everything good.
And this is where... Look, I reached out when I read this and I asked someone who works on the pod, hey, did anyone think about, maybe saying, hey, whoa, let's go again. Like this doesn't read right. This doesn't, this is not representing what you're trying to say. And I understand that the internet is the internet and that, hey man, shit's gonna happen. And people are going to take shit. They're going to take this one quote and run with it. Because even that, I will be totally transparent. I have not heard the full podcast. That was way more than I've heard. I didn't know, he went on to be like, and he's a great athlete. Because of course everyone clipped the Mr. Bojangles. And of course everyone...
They boiled it down to, he's a little bit too Mr. Bojangles for me. I wish he was a little bit more urban
enough. Because it sounds...
Yeah.
Like one of the most racist things you can fucking hear right now. And, Kevin Nash has been very outspoken against such things. So I was disappointed in that. Here's a thing that's not representing you well. And then he kind of doubles down on the apology to kind of be like, yeah, but I'm championing these people and I always follow the black athletes. And it's just like, I think
his apology, for anybody who's curious, is how often have you heard the term Uncle Tom? Most likely it was used in a degrading way. If you've actually read the literature, Uncle Tom was whipped to death for helping free 2 female slaves. I apologize for the use of the term Mr. Bojangles. It was in poor taste and obviously offensive. I just see talent being pushed in a direction that I disagree with. He should be the male version of Sol Ruka, more contemporary than urban. It's funny how I'm usually the only person who pays attention to the development of black talent, which is like this to me boils down to one of those things I can't tell anybody not to be upset about because obviously I'm not in that position. But I feel like he had a poor choice of words and then he had an even poorer choice of an apology because it feels like what it should be is, oh shit, that's not what I meant at all. I apologize for how my words were taken because of the poor wording that I chose. So I take responsibility that I did a poor wording of a different perspective I was trying to give across. I didn't mean any of those connotations for that. I'm just trying to say I wish he had more of a fighter's edge to him. Because
And
that's
I broke it
really
down-
seems like that's what he's trying to say. But it's like, but you can't use those wordings and not come across like you're saying something else, you know?
I mean, it gets to the point where, like, because when I first heard the things that Nash said, I said, like, oh, that just sounds like someone who is used to a certain way of saying things that just shouldn't be said in those
Yeah.
ways anymore. And I don't think that he meant anything now. Now that he said that as well, I always feel like, well, does he actually think that way?
It like, does it's more harm than good.
Yeah, because you wouldn't say that. I mean, it's basically that statement is just a very gussied up way of saying some of my best friends are black.
Yup.
That kind of that just sounds exactly like that. It's like, oh, like no, like this is what Ulka actually means. Like, you're the guys that are actually like think that you must be the racist because you're the ones that are accusing me of saying that stuff. Whereas like I'm like, you know, so cool with the urban guys. That sort of
Yeah,
that sort
it's
of-
kind of the same. Like you pull out and you go like, yeah, but they gave me a pass.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, that's not how you apologize for saying something that is taken, whether it was intentional or not. And I think it's unintentional. I don't think he was trying to go for something that would be like an offensive racist thing or whatever. But then again, that's not how you apologize for it to try to make up for it. So it's kind of like,
No, I don't think that he has any sort of like actual qualms or animosity towards people for the colour of their skin or anything along those lines. Absolutely not at all. But I say, I think he's a product of his time, and he clearly hasn't learned, or at least hasn't learned in the way that he thinks he's learned.
Yeah. And that's something too that like, I think everybody should have a certain amount of grace of like, you can perpetually learn more. And there are things that I would have thought in the past or said in the past that like nowadays, like I've learned like, yeah, that actually is way more offensive than I ever thought that it was. And like, you can move on, you can be a better person, all the other kind of things that go along with that. If that's what your intention is to, you know, whatever, that's a whole other story. But like, you need an apology that goes along with that. You can't be like, it's funny, I'm usually the person who pays attention to the development of black talent. You can't be like, I'm the champion for black people in WWE and be like, no, dude, you're...
I think so I think another element of this is that Kevin Nash, for the majority of his career, you know, was always seen as like a cool guy, and I know that like in the past it was like, yeah, he really was cool, but like all that can be undone in this instance. And I think, yeah, it's a shame that internet's gonna internet and people are gonna take stuff out of context, and now this becomes like the thing that a certain group of people will know him for. But at the same time, you are a 60-something-year-old man. You have to understand, not everybody's gonna be like, yeah, bro, NWO for life, yeah, so cool, like I get it. No, because a lot of these people weren't born when you were fucking at the top of your game in the NWO. Like, they're just gonna be like, up, another one of these old white guys, another one of Triple H's friends who thinks that they're cool with the black community, and
Triple H
like,
friend and a guy who used to roll with Hogan.
Yeah,
like,
and that was the disappointing thing for me, because I'm like, I know you're not, but in this one instance, it would have been better to shut down, restart, and say, hey, I want to see Javon Evans smack a motherfucker in the mouth, because that's what you meant.
Right.
You could have said that just like that, and that would have been enough.
If you have the exact same original quote as what he had with the that starts, he's an incredible athlete, blah blah blah, and you switch it, he's a little bit too Mr. Brojangles for me. I wish he was a little bit more urban. If you make that, he's a little bit too goofy for me. I wish he had more of like a, I don't know, more of an edge. Nobody mentions it at all.
But it's also just like, hey, dude, he's as happy as he is, and he's smiling and shit because he's a fucking kid. Because, like, Javon Evans, my guy, was born after your final WWE run ended. I think he was 5 when you fought Triple H in a ladder match. You know what I mean? Like, I understand his point, but the presentation of black talent has evolved beyond, yeah, you need to be urban and you need to be a hard out. Like, no, like, he's a fucking happy kid. He's a, like, let him be a happy kid, and then let him smack a motherfucker in the mouth. Because I think everybody can agree, I think half the wrestlers are too fucking happy to be there and should smack more people in the mouth. But, like, you don't say it the way he said it.
Yeah. And not every character can be the same, too. If everybody's just a badass, then first off, if everybody's just a badass, it's boring. And second, you say all across the board, everywhere, it's always like, be yourself, but magnified. Don't try to be something that you're not. And if Javon's very clearly this type of person. Like, he is a happy guy who is like, man, I'm having fun and this is cool. And like, I'm going to geek out over, Jeff Hardy's here and Shawn Michaels is here and all that. If you tried to have him be the fucking same character as Trick Williams or as Rusev or as, I don't know, fucking anybody on the roster, Javon Evans is not going to be the same type of character as Damian Priest or Axiom or fucking Joe Hendry. It's just they're all different. And I don't know. Yeah, poor choice of words. I disagree to varying extents. And I agree to some extents of like, if you don't believe that Javon can beat somebody up, then that's a bad thing. But I mean, he wins matches. So Rey Mysterio can't beat up Obafemi in the same way as Sheamus can, but it's a different person, different athlete. So let's go back a little bit, talk about some stuff from Monday Night Raw and get into like the TV side of things and kind of start rolling along with some other things here. Monday Night Raw started off with the typical, promo segment, lead to a tag team match, whatever. We're going to skip most of the stuff that doesn't really matter. And, Vision is there with Usos and LA Knight. It's just the same old shit. There's nothing special about it, nothing new. But there was eventually Asuka beating Bayley and Natty to qualify for the Elimination Chamber. Later on, Javon Evans, speaking of him, beat Gunther and Dominic Mysterio to qualify. So that makes sense to me. Gunther not being in the match because you don't want Gunther to lose. So you just keep him out of the match. Sure, why not? AJ Lee had a promo segment to just say, hey, the promo segment I had last week, let's just repeat that again. So we're just repeating the same things over and over and over again. They still are not committing to whether or not Obafemi is going to be on Raw or SmackDown. I think at this point they are fully in the realm of that they don't want to make a decision until probably after WrestleMania even. But they at the very least don't probably want to make a decision until they settle on where he needs to go for WrestleMania. And then maybe they can adjust things accordingly. But they don't seem to know what the WrestleMania card is. So I bet they don't know where they want him to go. But he's got a match tonight with Kit Wilson on SmackDown, and they've already teased that he will start a feud with Rusev over on Raw, or at least have one match.
It's like the thing is like, is he going to go to Raw SmackDown? I suppose the third there's a third contender called Main Event because he wrestled a main event this week. So
did he?
I don't even check Main Event anymore. So.
I saw a clip. I saw a clip of it on X. It's like just him just having a squash match against some. I think it was just some member of the LWO.
Like Cruz del Toro or someone.
Yeah, something like that. And it's just like, oh, okay, so that's what he's doing at the moment.
Good way to capitalize on that momentum, right?
But to just bring him up and start doing something with him. Like, why do we need to make a song and dance out of every single person coming up to the main? Like, this is why you don't have stars. You don't treat anyone that's any different or has any sort of like significance to them. They just come in and they just start going through the motions. Everyone else. Oh, I think in their minds they think that the power struggle, like everyone wants to sign him, is like the big, big draw for it. But it's just if either people know him from NXT and they just want him to be doing something because they know how good he is, or there might be some of the audience that don't watch NXT and only watch the main show, so have no idea who this guy is, and you're just like, slowing everything down or making it confusing along the lines of, oh, I have no idea what show he's going to be on, and he's just feuding with a load of people that we don't really care about. So, you need to, sometimes you just need to do something with a guy to get him over.
Yeah, they think that the vignettes...
Or only call him up when you have an actual plan, rather than... And if this was the plan, it's not good enough.
They think that the vignettes and the power struggle of who's going to sign him is the story. And then when he gets signed to whatever brand, that just ends. And then you just have to start all over again. And if you don't have anything really solid for him to do, you're just killing time and killing momentum. Like, where's Royce Keys? How is this guy not on TV yet? He comes at the Royal Rumble, and then you just wait like 3 weeks at most, if not more, and just go like, yeah, well, we'll wait until everybody forgets about it.
Yeah,
fuck you. How's that smart?
Also, just like not bearing in mind that like the whole Raw versus SmackDown thing is just like there's no animosity there at the moment, or there's nothing really to it. So it's not like, oh, this is a big power struggle between two, and these two sides are really tussling for it. It's like, he could sign with Raw, and then he'd be on like SmackDown in like a month's time, just having a random match because they don't really care.
Yeah, there's no brand split that really definitively makes it to where Nick Aldis can't have that person show up, because every single week somebody shows up on one other show and they completely defeat the purpose of the brand split. And they're doing cross-promotional things right now between the Elimination Chamber qualifiers and stuff. And they're keeping them mostly like, here's 3 people on Raw, here's 3 people on SmackDown, that kind of thing. But like, they're going to have a cross thing on the pay-per-view, and then how many people go back and Liv Morgan being I'm not going to pick Jade Cargill or Stephanie Vaquer means now that Liv Morgan and anybody else that wants to accompany her goes to SmackDown. Like, it's just, and it's not just for the WrestleMania season. It's been happening for 2 years now. So they like having a brand split that they don't actually have to stick to. But
also, especially in WrestleMania season.
Right. And one thing that's got it back and forth between, it's going to go to SmackDown tonight, and then it's going to continue on probably Raw and then SmackDown again, because it's literally being written as, we are telling you a mystery that we will not reveal until Elimination Chamber. Is this wooden crate? In a backstage segment, Adam Pearce is talking to some stagehand type, producer, gopher kind of character. Man, back in the day, I used to have to track every single one of those motherfuckers, and it would be like the best and the worst ancillary character of the year, and it would be like, oh, the guy that would said it was a great ambitious young clear, Tony.
They had to. No, it was self-imposed, but
it was self-imposed. But I was like, let me try to
appreciated the effort.
Like, let me care about things in a way that maybe other people don't. And then after a few years, I was like, yeah, nobody does. And then I'm like, okay, no, I'm just gonna get rid of it. But then again, I'm firmly in that stage of, nobody's even cared that I haven't covered Collision on Smart Guy Moment for months. I haven't said it. I haven't had a single person mention anything about that. So clearly, Smart Guy Moment's fan base does not care about Collision even, which is crazy. But this crate's backstage, and Pierce is like, the fuck is this? And the guy's like, oh, it's a crate. It says don't open up until Elimination Chamber. And he goes, I'll just fucking send it to Nick Aldis. And then they moved on to the typical thing that they do, which, like, for some reason, WWE seems very much intent on this idea that you need to cut to the back and have like 3 rapid fire things happen in a row, and then announce things and do whatever. So it was like all El Grande Americano shit and whatever. But who's in the box? Ooh. What's in the box?
All right. So what's in the box? I feel confident in saying it's not Chris Jericho.
I had an article that I had pre-written and published earlier today where I was like, oh, it's probably Chris Jericho. And I should have edited it, but I was being a little bit lazy. And I no longer feel like it's necessarily going to be Chris Jericho, but it still very much could.
Well, the reports coming out that so Jericho apparently had his contract frozen for the time that he took off of AEW in 2025 to do other like touring things with Fozzy and all of that stuff. And so yeah, essentially, if that report is to be true, that means that Jericho probably has had several months added onto his contract, either with the intention of him coming back at some stage, who knows, or probably more likely to keep him out of the WrestleMania rotation.
Probably. Which, if that's true, then that definitely would put him past this Elimination Chamber range. And then, I mean, let's be honest, if they did the thing that they've done plenty other times before, where if this is not a story that has a definitive end, and they just are like, let's put a mystery out there and we'll figure it out over the next couple weeks, this is going to turn out to be something terrible. And if it's something that they actually had a plan for, and this whole time everybody's looking at stuff like a Chris Jericho type or whatever, and they're all like, they're laughing in the conference room because they're like, wow, these people think that it's going to be that, and it's actually, you know, it's a fucking egg or something, then the problem with mystery boxes, and I've said this a million different times before, you know, when we can get into the, hey, look, it's another Fanboys Anonymous discussion. Fuck you, J.J. Abrams, for doing this in Star Wars. You can't, yeah. I'm past the point of saying hashtag The Last Jedi sucks. It's The Force Awakens sucks, and The Last Jedi sucks even more. And then The Rise of Skywalker sucks even more. All three of those movies are god awful terrible, and we're clearly in the worst timeline. But you don't set up a mystery and then give people the option of blowing things out of proportion and then being disappointed that, you know, hey, this big mystery turns out to be a dud. So the pro and the con of a mystery is, if you want it to be enticing, you have to give people the option of speculating. But if you don't temper those expectations a little bit, people are going to be upset when it's nothing that's super great. And this is a fucking box in a backstage thing. This means nothing. It's a tall wooden crate with the words, "Don't open until the date of Elimination Chamber." Most of the time when things like this have happened in pro wrestling, it's been stupid. Let's be honest. There's a big fucking egg. What's going to happen at Survivor Series? The gobbledygooker pops out and just goes, and everybody's like, oh, you're the gobbledygooker? Okay, then. Moving on. Nobody even beat the shit out of them like they should have, you know. If this is a person, it doesn't make any sense, because why would the person be locked up in a crate for 3 weeks? But it's pro wrestling. How many times have we had, I'm going to unveil a picture, and somehow the picture is the stature of a human being, and then you unveil and it's a person standing there. Oh my God, it's Sting. Or it's whatever, you know, like, pro wrestling is dumb. This is going to be stupid.
It's
at most,
to unveil a statue, but yes.
Yeah. At most, it's going to be a return of somebody. Whether that's a Chris Jericho type of thing where it's like, I could see that. That's the reason why I thought it was Jericho before the whole contact freezing thing, was I could see him being in a situation where he would want to go so meta that it would just be like, let's just do the stupid thing that Jim Cornette would want to do, which is you put somebody in a box and then you just be like, hey, I'm coming out of a box. There you go. We didn't think of anything else. We're just lampshading the shit out of it. Because he would be the type that would want to do something like that. I mean, he made that return where he was just like, yeah, and then he was like a bad guy. If this is like, I don't know, fucking Bianca Belair, that'll be like, why is she in a box?
So I had made a similar comment, and it was told to me, and this is a good thing to hear. If they have Bianca Belair come out of a box on one of the final days of Black History Month, I'd be reconsidering my entire creative life. I don't think it's Bianca Belair. She just finally had finger surgery.
It really shouldn't be.
Rehab. I'm gonna be honest. So let's start here. We all think this is a wrestler coming out of the box, right?
I would assume so.
I'm starting to doubt it personally, but like I don't know what it will be, but I'm thinking like this is. I'm just thinking of the last thing they tried to build anticipation for, and the last thing they built anticipation for was a WrestleMania commercial. So I'm starting to wonder whether it isn't just. I don't know. This would be the stupidest thing that like, oh, this is how we announce our musical performer for WrestleMania this year. Just have them step out of it instead, or something, or like have some sort of like a current wrestler, but they got a current wrestler that's going through a gimmick change instead of like a debut or something. So yeah, I don't know specifically, but like I'm starting to feel less and less convinced that it's going to be as worth the anticipation. Put it that way.
What's like is there like a Las Vegas stupid mascot thing or something that it could be like, or the Chicago thing if it's going to be in Elimination Chamber where it'll be like, this is actually, it's the Chicago whatever popping out being like, I'm a bird or some shit. The fucking mascots
are. So along those lines, I'll just say I think it's gonna be Danhausen. I think Danhausen's gonna come out of a box, and I think he's gonna curse Finn Balor while Balor's wrestling CM Punk, and I think Danhausen can just be CM Punk's buddy.
Well, a great way to put the shine off of what has currently been a very good title run for CM Punk, just to throw his comedy sidekick into
his creepy little fucking Addams Family friend who's just like, yeah, I'm here.
I mean, to be fair, yeah, maybe it's not Punk. Maybe he curses Becky while AJ's wrestling her. You know, like it's. I just think if given the choice between Jericho or Danhausen coming out of a box is stupid, but it fits. Jericho coming out of a box is like, this is the best we got for Jericho. You know what I mean?
Do we think it's a boat?
Well, boat's a boat, but the mystery box could be anything. It could even be a boat.
It could even be Natalia.
Do you think it's another box within the box, and then that box opens, but then it's not until WrestleMania that the other box opens?
How crazy would it be if it's just The Rock? Now you laugh, but Rock showed up on the SmackDown before, I think, which was 40 hours before Elimination Chamber last year. Fucked up the road to WrestleMania and dipped. What if it's The Rock?
Logically, it shouldn't be a person because, like, again,
they'll die.
Yeah, they're dead. It should just be a dead body in there. You know?
Well, it's the Undertaker then.
Maybe this is a big Undertaker return. But the only matches that are scheduled for Elimination Chamber, and we're not going to get any more. Let's be honest. We got 2 Elimination Chamber matches. We have the World Title match, and we've got the Intercontinental Women's Title match. We're not going to get any more matches for Elimination Chamber. I can't see this applying to any of those things because even in the sense of it being like an Elimination Chamber replacement or something, like somebody gets, Asuka gets taken out of the match and somebody comes in and replaces her and it's Bianca or something like that. Like that wouldn't make any sense for a fucking crate to be there. And I look at all the people that are currently MIA and it's like, this isn't going to be some grand return for Zoe Stark. This isn't going to be we've got Braun Breaker back in action and he's breaking out of it. Like Brock's return as he comes out of the fucking box. Like that doesn't make any sense to me at all. So I have to start looking at other things that this could be non-wrestler related, and then you got to assume it's either for something with Elimination Chamber specifically, or it's something for the road to WrestleMania or WrestleMania itself. And I'm very much starting to think they don't have a plan for this. I kind of feel like they wanted a mystery and that they're going to be in that situation of, well, the original plan was maybe this, but we also thought maybe we could change our mind.
I'm sorry, you don't introduce a box without a plan. Even if the plan is, won't this be a great hook for the next season of Unreal? There's a plan. You don't introduce a box for no reason.
Yeah, I agree. I think they do have a plan for it. That doesn't mean the plan is good, but I think they do have a plan at least.
I would say my lead guess is Danhausen. My secondary guess, with no knowledge whatsoever outside of the fact that post the box showing up, it was reported that WWE is considering Bad Bunny again. Maybe Bad Bunny's on box. And it's, hey, it's Bad Bunny. Maybe it's as dumb as, hey, it's a giant Slammy award. We're doing the Slammies again, kids. I don't know. But the box is so silly. Like, it's such a silly idea.
What I'm worried about, more so than even the idea that they don't even know what it is and that at the last minute they're just going to be like, and it's, Otis pops out and we give up. We didn't have a plan to begin with. My real worry is that this is quite literally nothing but an advertisement for something. And not even an advertisement of like, oh, and this match is going to happen at WrestleMania. I mean that like this could be at Elimination Chamber. We get a segment dedicated to the box is opening, and the box opens and it's, hey, the new sponsor for WrestleMania is Wheatley American Vodka. And some fucking person pops out and it's like, Wheatley, so good, I drink it neatly. And then you're like, okay, so you got paid to do a commercial and you did 7 commercials and you made it a big mystery about that. Fuck you. And then their idea would be, hey, yeah, the fans are going to be upset, but we got paid X amount of dollars for it. And then we just moved on and you got your big promotional thing at Elimination Chamber. The Chicago Bull pops out and says tickets are on sale for the new fucking Bulls game. Because I think at this point, everything in WWE is basically, can we just make it an advertisement and nothing else? They've got like 10% storytelling capabilities and then 90%, how can we just make money for nothing? I mean, look at their stories. Their stories are, like I said, AJ Lee comes out and says, remember the promo I had last week? I'm going to have another promo next week. It's nothing. Same Punk comes out and says, remember everything I said to you, Finn Balor? The same thing again. And then Balor's like, yeah, I'm still equally as upset about it as I was before. It's their story.
So not to turn this into a complete like chamber pod, but another major report was that Brock's probably going to attack one of the competitors at Chamber, and it's like if they make him get rid of Javon, how tone deaf can you be? Because if Brock Lesnar is going to insert himself into the Chamber and beat somebody up, who's he going to beat up? Of the announced names,
it would probably be LA Knight, right?
And force himself into the pod, or does he beat up someone else to get his hands on LA Knight?
I would assume it would be he beats up LA Knight so that way they have that match at Mania.
I'm still not happy about that idea, by the way.
No, me neither. It should not be. It should be Obafemi should beat Brock Lesnar.
I'd be more okay with that. I'm very worried that he's just gonna beat up Javon and that people are gonna be upset and they're gonna think, oh, there's great heat, and it's like, no, people are upset because you always have Brock Lesnar beat the crap out of black people. It's like I'm very concerned about that.
I'm thinking it's Paul Heyman enlists the help of Brock Lesnar to take care of LA Knight because LA Knight keeps feuding with Division. So he beats the shit out of LA Knight. LA Knight doesn't get the chance to go on the WrestleMania. He's mad. I'm going to get some revenge at Mania against Brock. And then they have a shitty match and Brock wins. And it says like, do nothing, go nowhere, waste of both of them that you could get. So that's my prediction for WrestleMania, everybody, for when it comes back around. And it's there you go. I'm just going to repeat myself over and over again. Ugh.
Yeah, not happy with the move.
Switch over to NXT and talk about some of those things. Kalani Jordan beats Lola Vice by submission. Joe Hendry has a whole attack thing with Ricky Saints. They're going to have their match at Vengeance Day, as I mentioned before, on March 7th in whatever location that is. And you can watch that in whatever, that airs, because they don't tell you that information either. Izzy Dame's going to face Tatum Paxley at that show, wherever that is, for the NXT Women's North American Championship. Tony D'Angelo beat Cutler James, because that's the simplest thing you could possibly do. And then he beat up Deion Lennox afterward. They had the Vanity Project win the Fatal 4-Way #1 contenders match to earn the next tag team title shot. So they beat the Coling, Hank Tank, and OTM. Keanu Carver had a vignette. Robert Stone kicked out Joe Hendry. Zarya said, "Fuck you" to Sol Ruka. Go to hell. This is the last, we're not friends anymore. And then later on, right afterward, helped her beat up fight against the Fatal Influence team and then apologized. So it's the same. They just want to keep cycling through that. They want to wait until they are going to do something with that. And it's probably going to be in the title match next week. Zarya probably just cost her the match or something. Some reports going around there that they might want to switch Sol Ruka's presentation around to get her on the main roster, which to me, I don't think you need to switch her around. I think when you get something that works and people like, why would you have the immediate reaction of, well, we got to change it then?
Yeah. No, you have to switch everything around.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're getting a better theme song, that's good, and a more focused presentation, that's good.
It'll probably be like, well, she's got that, surfer kind of thing, and that helps her stand out. So let's make her just be wearing generic gear and have some generic entrance theme, and she could just be, I'm tough wrestler girl, and that'll be like, God damn it, now she's fucking boring, same as everybody else. Ellie LaFleur and Eli Knight fought to a time limit draw, so they're going to have the 3-way for the speed title against Jasper Troy next week with a 7-minute time limit instead. Nothing on that.
How is it not a 9-minute time limit? 3 minutes per guy.
Yeah, that makes more sense, right?
There's not a 6-minute match when there's 2 guys for 3 minutes.
Uriah Connors had, again, the storytelling capabilities of WWE writers is very much, can we just not do it and just tell people that we're continuing to tell a story? So the 3rd week or whatever of the Birthright group being like, we should try to convince Charlie Dempsey, and Uriah Connors is like, I'll talk to him next week. And then this goes down and he's like, come on, Charlie, you want to join? And he goes, nah, I don't know. It's like, God damn it. Imagine watching movies where that kind of shit happens, where characters are just like, yeah, I don't do anything and nothing happens, but I can continue to tell you that, like, I'm heading towards something. So just wait. And eventually it either will or won't happen. Blake Monroe had a whole backstage thing that's turning into a speed tournament. They decided to only announce 2 of those people that are in there. And again, makes no sense whatsoever, because Robert Stone's like, I can't get a speed tournament together because I can't figure out 4 women to be in it, when you've got 20 on the roster and you got TNA to work with and you got the main roster to work with and you've got AAA to work with. You can't figure out 4 fucking women. Sure. Okay. Well, it's Blake Monroe against Thea Hale, and the awkwardness of this.
Parker's injured.
The awkwardness about that whole thing was, he says to Blake Monroe, Jada Parker has been suspended for putting her hands on officials in like the whole brawl segment from last week. And I forget her exact response, but she basically says something like, yeah, fuck her. Like, she shouldn't be, beating up people. And then he says, in all seriousness, she's dealing with a neck injury. What? Why are you doing the suspension story if she has a neck injury? Why are you, like, the fundamental purpose of that sentence doesn't make any sense. In all seriousness, you weren't joking around. And then you go, yeah, I agree, she shouldn't beat up those people because she has a neck injury. What? It's like, whoever wrote those lines had a complete like aneurysm at that moment. And they were just like, he needs to say she's suspended and she has a neck injury. And then I don't know, maybe he just like says it.
It feels like it was one of those moments where it's like, she's suspended to continue with last week's story development. She's suspended. Also, viewers, actually, we're going in this direction because she's injured. Moving on.
And it's so
The
simple
role
to
of
just
Jada
be
Parker
like,
will now be played by Thea Hale.
like, just, I don't know. This is one of those things where it's like, if you needed to get those points across, you could very easily just like, people speak people, you know, that they do. Like, just have him say to Blake Monroe, I've suspended Jada Parker for what she did last week or whatever. And she also is dealing with a neck injury. So it's going to be a while before we see her. Instead of this awkward ass phrasing that they had done. But she just came back from an injury and now she has a neck injury. And it seems like it might be from that DDT spot, which was a little bit janky, but maybe not necessarily.
Ban DDTs if it injured both Elton Prince and Jada Parker, or that to ban DDTs.
I get a little bit worried about Jada Parker. It feels like, this has been like a year plus where it's like things aren't really working out all that well. These injuries and stuff, and I don't know. Hopefully I'm wrong about that. But then Ethan Page retained the North American title over Shiloh Hill. He has the record now of the most title defenses. And then Miles Bourne attacked him afterward and Pillman iced his leg, and he's got a title match next week. So, I mean, he's probably going to lose because he just already beat this record. And anytime that WWE brings up records like that, they almost always have them lose something right afterward. It's like, Nikki Bella is the longest reigning champion, so she's going to lose next week, or, so on and so forth. So maybe a new North American champion next week. They are splitting things around in a very strange way with all these different shows that are happening. So next week's not only the North American title match, but it's the JC Jane and Sol Ruka match. Uriah Connors against Kel Dixon, Blake Monroe against Thea Hale for the Speed Tournament, Jasper Troy in the Triple Threat, Kenna Carver and Sean Legacy, and then Dark State against Vanity Project. Nothing announced for the week after. And then you got Vengeance Day. And we still don't even know where the venue is for that. So stay tuned on the NXT side of things. I don't know. But let's get into AEW, which let's go back to Grand Slam Australia and talk about what happened there and kind of roll along the elements that kind of carried over into Dynamite from this week. So at Grand Slam Australia, Jon Moxley and Konosuke Takeshita fought to a time limit draw, and Moxley wants a rematch for the belt, the Continental Classic, Continental Championship at Revolution. It's going to be a no time limit match, which sure makes sense. Why not? It's a good way to stall.
Yeah.
I like time limit draws sometimes.
Yeah, you set up most of the time limit draw here, and then you just immediately build up for the full rematch at Revolution, so it should be a good match. I think they were holding back a little bit here because, they knew that they were going to have to stretch this out. So, yeah, hopefully they build upon this. I think they were showing clips of, like, potentially Moxley calling an audible at the end of the match to have Takeshita take him out because of the negative crowd reaction to the draw. So if that was the case, then that's good thinking from Mox.
Yeah, God forbid, you send people home happy.
Yeah. I still don't think that Takeshita is taking that title, but it should be a good match. We'll talk about that with our Revolution stuff. Babes of Wrath retained the women's tag titles over Mega Bad. And then on this episode of Dynamite, two of them had a little bit more of a crossover again, with Willow retaining the TBS title over Megan Bayne and Marina Shafir and Mina Shirakawa. So my predictions of, I think that they might lose those tag titles, and then they don't. And then, well, that might mean that maybe she loses the TBS title and she doesn't. I'm like, all right, well, that's not happening.
Well, the big development from this match, beyond just them retaining the titles, was the debut of Lena Cross joining Mega Bad, essentially, as part of a trio now. So that's good. I was waiting to see when she was going to show up, so it makes sense. Like being, I believe she's Australian, so being from the area, it seems to make sense for her to appear on the Australia show. I don't think they handled her debut as well as they possibly could have, because I don't think commentary seemed as excited or as interested as they probably should have been for a debut of someone, even if it's someone who the casual wrestling fan doesn't know. They should try and make it more of a big deal than they did, because they basically said, "Oh look, there's Lena Cross. She signed with us recently," and then just moved on. Like, rather than, "Oh my god, who's that? And that woman's huge. She's a giant." That kind of whole thing, because like she is taller than Megan Main, and so it'll be quite interesting if they decide to run with those two as the tag team with Penelope Ford in more of a rotation managerial role.
You know what was the weird thing about that was, even though there was now 3 of them, they still had Megan hold up 2 titles. And I didn't understand that at all, because you could have sent a clear message of like, okay, Lena will now team with Penelope and Megan will go after the TBS title or whatever. And it was just like, no, Penelope and Megan are still a team and she's supposed to be the heater, but Megan's already a heater. You don't need heater doesn't need a heater. You know, it's strange. But I will also say, yeah, the call of Lena Cross's return felt to me like the exact opposite of the debut of Butcher, Blade, and Bunny. And yes, that was 7 years ago, but at the time it was like, oh my god, don't you know who that is? It's the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny. Oh my god, I can't believe they're here. And with Lena Cross, it was like, oh, it's Lena.
It's Christian.
I would say that, like, based on both this performance here and then also the performance that she put in the 4-way match for the TBS title on Wednesday, we need to belt up Megan Main soon. It's getting a bit ridiculous that she hasn't won anything yet.
It was ridiculous to me that you didn't use the 4-way to drop the belt from Willow onto either Marina or Megan. Just get it off of Willow. I'm tired of seeing
double champions
in AEW go for other titles.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Hangman, whether it's, the trios titles are being defended. Who's going to challenge for them? AEW National Champion Ricochet. It's like, you have a roster of people.
National champion, by the way.
All of them.
Not international. Hence why they should not call AEW International. That's what you said.
Well, it's the national.
Yeah, it's just that's why they shouldn't have a national and an international. Yeah, you got the national champion fighting for the trios titles against the trios champions, which include the guy who's fighting for the world title. And it's kind of like, fuck me, I hate that so much. But maybe it's Babes Wrath are losing to the Inspiration now that they have joined the roster, and maybe that's what they're waiting for. I don't know. To me, it sort of seems like they should take at least one of these belts away, because I don't think that like Willow should just be holding 2 titles, because I don't like double champions in general. But I don't know. Tony Khan seems to love that idea. So Hangman Adam Page beat Andrade, by the way, for anybody that's curious. He has that world title set up for the Revolution match. And then that brings us to this discussion. So there was a face-to-face thing, MJF and Hangman Adam Page, where Page was saying, look, we've like fought enough. We should have some kind of a stipulation. And he would want a Texas death match, to the point that MJF was like, no, I don't want to do that at all. And he decides that he is going to put his future title shots on the line. So this is the same as the situation that happened with Cody Rhodes. If Hangman doesn't win this match, he will never fight for the championship again. And it's not just he won't fight as long as MJF is champion. It's I won't fight for that belt at all. The top title in the company. I think that this is stupid in 2 different ways. One, if he loses, this is stupid, because then you're putting yourself in a situation where one of your top main guys is never going to fight for that championship again, or you just undo it, which defeats the purpose of the whole point of the whole thing, or you're setting up the thing where it's like, well, he has to win, and then in which case, then you don't get as invested in it. Because I don't look at this. I mean, not everybody has the same mentality that I do. Obviously, it's a different story. But I look at this as this is almost a lose-lose, not a win-win. Because I'm sure plenty of other people are like, yeah, but that makes it more interesting because I don't know where it's going. And I look at it as you either make it obvious he wins, you undo the story, or it's a bad idea. It's all three are bad. You know?
Well, I mean, I'll ask the question then. It's like, do you think it's obvious that Hangman is winning?
No.
Then they clearly haven't done that. Then the suggestion that you're making that it's obvious that they're going to win. Well, yeah, I'm just like, I want to defeat these arguments one at a time. It's
see, though, the reason why isn't because of their storytelling. The reason why is because I'm an overly cynical fan who overanalyzes everything. If I'm just a generic person, I'm going to go, oh, well, he has to win then, because they're not going to have him not do that ever.
No, I think that's it's not. I don't say it's not necessarily because of their storytelling, but I think it is just because you don't know. You don't know what, because they have done this before. They did this with Cody, so they have proven that they will do this with people. So I don't think it is out of the question that that's the route they decide to take. That they're trying to not cycle Hangman out of the title picture in general. I'd say I don't know whether this is necessarily the route I'd go to. I think it definitely makes the match at Revolution more interesting. So at least in the short term, it's a win because it makes the title match feel like hugely much more high stakes attached to it, which is part of the reason why I wouldn't necessarily have gone Texas Death, because it pulls away a lot of the near falls that you could potentially do, because now it's essentially a last man standing match, and that doesn't have as much, or a a submission match, however you want to look at it, and I don't think that has as much gravitas to it. But I think that that's like there are multiple routes they go to. One thing that I've seen that I think could help solve it if they decide to go down this route, and enter a world where all things could be satisfied. Whether they decide to do this or not, I don't know. But the idea being that MJF agrees to stipulation, goes with Texas Death, but his added kind of wrinkle onto it is that he doesn't make the Hangman's part of the bargain about him never challenging for the title again. He doesn't make it a legally binding stipulation, because essentially Hangman gave MJF his word that he'd never do it again. So MJF basically says, I'm going to hold you at your word, so if you lose this match, it'll be up to you to decide if you decide to break your word and go after the title again. Because then,
that's
in a way,
lame as shit.
No, that's a brilliant idea. That's brilliant storytelling. That's brilliant storytelling, because it's the idea essentially is that, because MJF, they told the whole story in the feud, like how much they hate each other. So MJF is going to essentially use that as a stick to say, it will prove to me once and for all that you aren't the man that you always said you were, that you are the villain, that you are the weak one, that you're the coward, because you put yourself in this stipulation and then you didn't abide by it.
I hate that with a passion. I hate that even more than if they just went with any of the three ideas, because to me that writes in an excuse to not do it anymore, but also the excuse to not do it anymore means you devalue the character on both ways, because MJF
you change the character. You change the character of Hangman
to a pussy and to
a desperate heel that like pushes the idea of like, I need that world title. Like you have him for a long time, basically. You have him for a year or two, just push the idea of I'm okay with not being this, or like I've come to terms with the fact that I can't challenge for the title anymore. But then it just becomes such a desperate pull that he does it, and then MJF can kind of lord it over him for the rest of the time that he. And then
the whole rest of Hangman's career is, if at any point he turns babyface, he should say, and I'm never challenging for the belt again, because now I should be holding that too. Or you just tell people you should forget about it. I don't think that there's a way around this. I think that it's all bad. I don't like that at all. I would actually hate that even more.
That's why I think the way around it is I don't care if it's quote unquote predictable.
You just give him the win.
Because there's one thing we do know, and that's Cody Rhodes did this to himself, and it fucked the trajectory of his AEW run. Like, he immediately became everything was his own Cody verse, and everything had to be kind of separate because he can't just be the face of the company. Now, to me, do I think Hangman's gonna win? I actually think he's gonna lose. And I actually think that because I kind of think they're gonna do the whole thing of, well, I won the title twice already. I'm not getting a bigger moment than All in Texas. I don't need to be the champion again. That sucks for the company because a guy like Hangman should always be in and around the world title picture. But I don't think he's winning.
I don't think he's winning either. And I think that they have the mentality of, yeah, but we have all these other belts because we have 4 fucking mid-card belts.
Now, in fairness,
he could just be fighting for the other ones, and that's going to make it so much better because then his focus is going to be on the Continental or the International or whatever. And then to me, that's like, yeah, but you could just do that without this stipulation. He could just be like, I want to win every championship in AEW or something, like, you know.
Well, I think that the if they even decide to go down the focus of just the idea that Hangman just never fights for the world title again, I think in a way that can be a positive by pushing the idea that we're always talking about how they need to, in all companies, in all professional wrestling, they need to start moving past the old and moving into the new. And not that Hangman is old or anything like that, but he has been like a foundational pillar, like the quote unquote main character of AEW since its foundation. And so having that character move out and opening up space for new faces to appear in the main event scene, because we've seen this year about how they've put a lot more focus on just trying to add some new, fresher faces into that mix, whether that's like Andrade coming back and Brody King and Bandito recently fighting for the world title, and just trying to mix things up a little bit more. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing if Hangman is to forfeit being in that and put his star power into the other divisions instead. Let's say I feel like this match did need something, because, like, as I say, even though these two always have great matches, that they just didn't feel like it needs to be different from the previous match they've had before, because they did wrestle twice last year. Hangman won both times, so he's feeling confident going into it because he knows he can beat Max, and Max has to prove himself. But so they've decided to add this added weight into it, and I think it does make the match more interesting. I think it makes the outcome less predictable, because I'll put it this way: if it had just been straight up match, even if it would have been Texas Death, everyone would just assume that MJF's going to win. And even if we do still think that, it's definitely far less predictable, and it'll make the match itself feel less predictable when certain things happen.
I'm just not a fan of, you put something in the future that is going to pigeonhole you to be stuck to that specific thing in the future, and you give yourself no wiggle room without just undoing things. Like, I know that there's like a trope of like, you write yourself into the corner and then you have to write yourself out of it. But wrestling writers suck. They can't write themselves out of it. And they end up just doing stupid shit where they just go, yeah, but fuck it. Just like, you know, ignore it. And then that, as like a writer, to me, that's terrible. Then that's shitty writing. And it's either like you're stuck to something that you didn't even need to do, or you undo it because you realize that it was a mistake. And I don't know. I don't think that this is the right way to build to something to that either. I think that if you were that negative on it, where you felt like it needed this kind of a stipulation, this is like a retirement, basically. It's not the same as a retirement, but it might as well be. I've got my career on the line. And then when you feel like you need to do the retirement thing, then that seems to me like you don't have any confidence in it. And then that immediately makes me go, should I not have cared? Because I was fine with it just being the two of them against each other. If you feel like that's not good enough, that's kind of saying a lot.
I don't think it's because they don't feel it's good enough. They just want something different. They just want to approach it slightly differently.
I think unequivocally they needed a stipulation. They could not do another, it's just MJF against Hangman. They needed a stipulation. This story has gotten to that point. But I just don't like that it's this, because
do something
one
else.
example we have of this has been just terrible.
Well, I say, I think people always look back at the Cody thing with the wrong perspective. Cody's failure wasn't due to him never challenging for the title. It's because, and we're seeing it now. Now he's fighting, not that he's fighting for the title. He's pretty much perennially the world champion in WWE, and fans are still turning on him now and saying that he's overexposed. It's because Cody's Cody. That's just who he is. That he's always going to make himself overexposed and become people are going to get apathetic towards it because that's just who he is. So, and you base similar argument with Hangman in just a simple babyface role. Eventually you do just become apathetic towards him because no one likes a white meat babyface for too long. Eventually you need to get a bit of an edge and something different about you. I feel like they didn't necessarily have to take this step, but I don't know. It does kind of feel like, I know it's not necessarily what is being said, but it feels like we criticize a lot of wrestling companies for just doing the same thing over and over again, and now they're trying to do something that's a bit out there, and we're saying, oh, why are they doing this sort of thing? This seems odd. Why don't they just have the match that they would normally have? It's let's wait until it happens to actually judge it, I think, in this instance.
See, I never subscribe to that because to me, that is the mentality of people saying, if your problem is you want something different and we gave you something different, that you should think it's good. And to me, it's always different. It doesn't equal good. Different should be good, different. And change does not equal good. Change just means the potential of something being better. But to me, this is if they gave me the option and said, we either go this or we go with a regular match, I'd be go with a regular match. I think that this is a mistake. And I think that in a couple weeks, I think we're going to look back on this and I'm going to be this is a mistake. And then I think at the end of the year, it's going to be this was been a mistake. And I could be proven wrong. I've been proven wrong plenty of times in the past, but I look at this and I think that there's no positive for this whatsoever. At most, it gives you a slight bit more of a bump for interest to Revolution. At its worst, you've just pigeonholed an entire important main character to no longer do the most important thing you can have, and then you've killed part of your division as well. You might as well just fire him.
I mean, you had me there. You took it 2 or 3 steps too far. I wouldn't go just fire him.
Well, his contract is coming up, right?
That's I was going to say.
That's another point of the discussion. Some people are this is a way to write him off.
Callum's point, unless this is absolutely a Cody thing where we can all look back on and go, wow, who would have thought he was setting the stage for an exit? And I don't think he'll join WWE, to be clear.
Highly, highly doubt Hangman's going to WWE.
Unless he's setting the stage for an exit, then I am a little iffy about this storyline. But I also am willing to let it play out. And by the way, just for the record, if he does win, I don't think it was a waste of time to put MJF as champion. I think it's okay to have these two trade the belt.
Yeah. And I understand the perspective that you're taking, but I also feel like it's shaped your view to the point that you're not going to think that it was the right decision, even if it was. That's just my perspective. You've clearly made your peace with the fact that this is bad, personally. Then you're not going to change your mind, even if it proves wrong.
I don't how would they prove me wrong? That's the whole thing. Because
we don't know, because that's the. I'm not saying that it's definitely going to go right. I just want to open up the possibility, because
there's a chance. There's always a chance.
I'm not trying to start critique you. I know it's coming across that way, but it feels like it's more about a case of I want to have some kind of level of optimism about things like this, which feel on the surface like they can only be a bad result. And I agree with you. On the surface, it does look like they can only be a bad result, and you're absolutely killing MJ, not killing Hangman's not character, but like possibility of purpose. If he is the main character of the company, to cut him away from the promotion, and maybe it's a case of like, we are wrestling fans, we are cynical, we've seen a lot of bad decisions, a lot of bad creative over the years to make us, shape us this way. We've seen a lot of good stuff as well. It's like we're all hoping for good things, but we have seen enough bad things to make us feel like something like this can't possibly go well. And at the end of the day, if it does prove to go well, I'm more than happy to eat crow and just say, yeah, this did suck and they absolutely shouldn't have gone in that direction. But I'd say I'm one of those people that doesn't have the perspective that the reason of Cody's whole either failure or the reason why things go out was nothing to do with the world title stipulation. It was just more due to the fact that the storylines that he was having weren't great. And I would still say that he'd still be having the same sort of storylines if he was fighting for the world title instead. But yeah, I'm willing to at least see how a world where Hangman can't challenge for the world title plays out. And if it is just the general idea, like as we've posited, that he is leaving and he's no longer going to be in AEW, then it is a great stipulation because you might as well just end it, because in that case it is the end of the run for him.
Yeah, I mean, if he's leaving, then I would go even further and be like, then it should just be a I'll leave AEW stipulation. But when their one instance of doing this in the company was a fucking train wreck with Cody, they don't get the grace of me being like, oh, this is a good thing and this is going to lead to a bunch of good things. It's like, no, you got to prove that's not the case. And we could be coming around to this in July or something and being like, wow, this story's fucking great. But
we could be coming back to this in a couple of weeks' time and say, oh, Hangman's world champion again. It's like, it didn't matter in general, but like,
if that does happen, I'll say like, there's probably nothing over the course of the next few weeks that'll make me not have the opinion of, so then that was just a thing to try to boost it for the same question marks as anything else. And that felt like you were overcorrecting something that probably had enough steam that it didn't need that. Like, that'll be like the best case scenario is like, well, you decided to go like, and here's 12 more extra layers that are kind of pointless, but like, I don't have faith. That's the thing. It's
I think you're more than fair in having that perspective, because that's like the Cody thing is the clearest example of them doing it in the wrong way. And yeah, I guess like you're probably the reason why I'm probably so hard on the other way is because it's probably so obvious that the way that you're thinking is probably the more likely route. And I just don't want to subscribe to it. I don't want to subscribe to it until it's proven, and then I'll just go, oh yeah, Tony, you were right. I'm just going to kill myself. That kind of,
I don't want this to be another one of those scenarios where I'm like, hey, Rusev isn't going to work out. Like, people think
I'm still not happy with you about the Fiend.
Fiend was the whole
like Bray Wyatt's been gone for a couple. I don't care. Like, it still bothers me that like you were right.
And I could be horribly wrong about this, and like,
and I've been wrong.
Like a really bad, it's a really bad. Like, it could be a really bad situation. I just like, I think maybe just the way that AEW's been presenting them, particularly in the main event scene this year, it has been very positive to start with. So I'm hoping that they're just carrying the right momentum and they're thinking things through, at least in the main event scene. I know there's a lot of other issues elsewhere, but at the top end, they've really seemed to be like nailing it at the moment. So I don't want that to end, but it could very well in the end of this one.
Switching over to a completely different topic. Orange Cassidy and Timeless Tony Storm beat the Death Riders, and Wheeler Yuta was the one that got his head shaved. So speaking of something that I was wrong about, where I was very clearly leaning towards Marina Shafir, she didn't. I'm disappointed because this just became, he shaved his head, and now okay, now we just move on. Nothing else is like, he just has like a hat on or whatever now, and
I feel like he's got the hat on at the moment, and then there'll be a point in a match where he's wrestling with the hat on, and they'll take it off, and he's bald, and then the crowd get a bit of a pop out of it. as I say, like, it's a short-term thing, but I don't think it would have been the same thing when Marine Shafir would just be, oh, Marine Shafir doesn't have hair for a while, and eventually you get used to it, and then she grows her hair back, and then it's like, it's always the thing with these hairstyles. Like, it's like it's about the moment. It's about the moment of them getting their head shaved, and then the first time seeing them without the hair shaved, and then beyond that, it really doesn't mean anything because you just get used to seeing them without hair, or until they grow it back.
I think Yuta arguably probably ends up looking better.
He probably does. I think that if you've got enough hair in your beard, it would have actually been more. I think it actually would have made more of an impact if you shaved the beard off.
Maybe, yeah, because that
like
really changes people's faces.
Yeah, but like I think as long as you've got enough hair in your beard, I think the bald look works for it. And but yeah, I think it was just a fun match, and got to see Wheeler humiliated, and Wheeler's like one of the greatest heat magnets in all of wrestling. Like, I don't know if he'll ever reach world champion level or even like get to like a really serious push level, but he's always going to be like hateable. Like, the crowd absolutely despise him and react to him more than like 90% of the roster.
And we had Kyle Fletcher retained the TNT title over Mark Briscoe, and of course MJF retained the world title over Brady King. Hence the whole discussion we just had. Obviously, It would have been different if that wouldn't have gone down that way.
I don't know if Adam Page would have been putting his future title opportunities on the line if Brody King was champion.
Yeah. Fletcher was not on the episode. He was apparently just like having fun with Konosuke Takeshita in a backstage thing like that. But
very weird that they didn't show the unveiling of the pink title, but like that didn't happen live on the show, but that's okay.
And they had the whole backstage thing where it was like because Okada's like, I'm Kyle Fletcher's best friend, and I wish I was celebrating with him, but I'm a champion, and I got some responsibilities, unlike Takeshita.
I think they also did that house show afterwards, like the what they call their
House Rules,
that low event thing. Yeah, House Rules thing.
Because you got to get another gambling thing in there.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything like stand out from that other than the Inspirations debut. Yeah, we paused that because I was told if you don't have anything nice to say, you shouldn't say anything at all. So,
I was wondering how you would go about that. Yeah, I this is a surprise for a house show, but I had a feeling this was happening. Just the minute that the Sean report didn't say they're talking to WWE, I was like, oh, so they're going to AEW.
It is weird that it was here instead of on Grand Slam. I guess in their mind it was like, well, we're going to give them something special, but then that kind of diminishes their debut because most people wouldn't even have any idea that happened.
Dude, their debut would be diminished as soon as their music hit, because the crowd would just go, oh, like I imagine like not everyone, but like a good percentage of the crowd just go, oh fuck this, like, wow, you're really stretching the word elite to its absolute limits at this point when you talk about AEW.
I like them, but they're
fun. Well, they're fun characters. They're fun personalities. But when was the last Iconics match you went back and watched? Silence is very loud there.
I mean, I couldn't. I'm not going to make the argument that they're going to have the best in-ring matches and stuff to begin with. But at the same time, I'm also like,
then what's the point about being in a promotion called All Elite Wrestling if you're not going to have a great match?
When I think of that a good Iconics match, I think about a match where they were in a fatal 4-way for the NXT Women's title, and that's not a tag team match.
That was one of them in one match where they were not the biggest participant in that match.
But I will say, I've gone back many times to look at a compilation of Billy Kay saying, "You got to be joking me."
Yeah.
So they have something. There's something there, and I think honestly, in a promotion that has utilized Harley Cameron fairly well, there's something there for like the comedic of it all.
Mm-hmm. They're a prominent set of people for a women's tag team division.
I guess
they do need a team that can lose, a credible team that can lose. And if they do happen to win those AEW women's tag titles, they get to make history on top of it. I think it's a win-win. Because I'm sure they're not. It's not like they're getting paid Jericho money.
They would be the first women to ever win all 3 sets of tag titles.
Right.
For that matter,
I think it's a
go
good
ahead
win.
and just put a belt on.
I just feel like if that's a reason why you're making it on champions, then you're not making champions for the right reasons. Like, that's the whole, like, WWE saying, oh, it's historic that this person's held the title for this amount of time. It's like, what did they do in that time? Well, nothing, but they held it for this long. It's like,
Right.
Like you can't even say, they're not even going to say that they held WWE tag titles, because they never say that you held a WWE championship in AEW. They reference the fact, like with FTR said, like, we're X number of time tag champions. It's like, they don't actually say they were WWE tag champions at any point. So yeah, I'd say if that's the reason, then I don't think it's a good enough reason to sign them. If you actually feel like they can deliver in ring, then we'll see. And because I've been proven wrong with the likes of Ty Mello before, assuming like, why the fuck are they signing her? And then she turns out to be a lot better than we ever thought she was in NXT. If somehow, some way, they are immeasurably better than they were in their time in WWE and their time in TNA, then I will say, yeah, they made the right decision here. I was wrong, but I am very,
the likelihood of that's very low.
Yeah, I'm very, very confident I won't be wrong in this thing as much more so than the Hangman thing.
So. Jet, Kevin Knight beat More Toast. That was going to be a whole More Toast wins. Then LFI gets a tag title shot, and they didn't. So then the demand's like, how about us? And they demanded it, and they're going to get it. And I guess Jack Perry's going to continue to feud with Ricochet, even though they've had multiple matches, because he just like slammed a knife. And we assume it's Jack Perry, but I don't know. Do you need to do more than those matches? I think that they've had enough. They should probably just move on.
If you're going to swap the belt to Perry, then yes. But if not, then I'd say no.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of women's tag teams, just had the debut of the Brawling Birds, the tag team, against Becca and Viva Van. So, just them beating enhancement talent, but, they're getting the aesthetic over.
You got to get started somewhere. So,
yeah.
Their team, it's nothing catching my attention quite yet, but yeah, that's just a tag team of 2 people that I'm not the most flamboyantly super, oh my God, either of them super impressed me to begin with. I like the team in general. Like, that makes sense. Sure. Team them up. Brawling Birds, not necessarily the name I would have gone with, but I wouldn't have necessarily thought of anything better. So it's like, all right, yeah, go with it.
Do you know what the Birds reference is?
Oh, there's like a whole element to it. Then completely over the top of my head. Then,
well, Birds is a euphemism for women in the UK.
Oh, just the general idea of like, oh, like that bird. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought there might have been like a pro wrestling, like Hater used to call himself the whatever bird or something, like one of those things.
Oh no, sorry, I wasn't saying there's going to be a deep lore to okay, so like the Birds is the term, the colloquial words for women, especially women that have those kind of more acts, like more they've got quite Cockney style accents, both of those two, so it kind of works for it.
You go way back in this podcast, and Sean explaining why he was referring to people as a fit bird, and me and a couple of people being like, the fuck you talking about, dude? Let's see. We had, the ops is recruiting. Maybe because there's no fucking ops. Samoa Joe's out of action. Powerhouse Ops isn't in the company anymore. And Katsuhiro Shibata has been sent away, and Hook's like, I'm the leader of the ops, and as the leader, we need more ops, so I'm going to look for more ops because I'm the leader. It's like, fuck, man.
It was such a terrible segment. Like, this dude shouldn't be talking. You had it so good with him when he wasn't talking. Stop making him talk.
So this was crazy.
Can we just ship him off to NXT with Hobbs now? Like, could it be a package deal? I would have paid them to take him off his hands. Like,
wow, you heard it here first, folks. Callum Wiggins is ready for the full team Taz reunion.
Yeah, Hook to get the hook.
with Taz on commentary with Booker T, right?
What could we rename Hook? What's his real name?
Tyler
Sinertia or whatever. Sinerkia. How do you pronounce their names?
Sinertia.
Sinertia?
Yeah.
So Tyler, Cole, Sinertia, they would be like, hey, you are like, I don't know, you're TJ Vallahan or some kind of shit. Your Taz Jr., your Tazzy boy, whatever it might be. Who do we think could be recruited to the ops? Because there's obviously, if they need to recruit some people, it wouldn't make sense for them to recruit people that are in some other group anymore. So it's not like it's like, well, Daniel Garcia is going to be in the ops and he's going to leave the Death Riders, but you got to put some people in there that could be worthwhile, and you got to put some people that could be used in one way or another. So I don't think it's going to be a group of people that are all just the Nakamurados and the Mike Bennett's and stuff that like are not necessarily doing anything right now. And Matt Sydal is not going to be in this fucking group. You know what I mean? Or Mascara Dorada is not going to be in the group. They wouldn't fit, but like,
see, I don't think there could be anyone particularly prominent because, like, at the end of the day, they've still got Joe and Shibata. They're just, you know,
MIA.
just out MIA at the moment, and Hook's the only one that's there. So it has to be people that would be subordinate to Hook.
Yeah,
and that's like, so you're not going to get anyone super pizza. I would like to see, Big Bill and Brian Keith be involved in something which isn't like, you know, isn't learning tree adjacent. Maybe Josh Woods, someone like that. That's like, he's not had a very prominent one, but he fits into the whole aesthetic of the ops. I don't imagine they'd move people from like Shane Taylor Promotions over to that as well, but
yeah, probably not.
I'm sure
probably not Don Callis people either. Like if Brian Cage would be ready to go, he probably wouldn't just rejoin a Taz adjacent type group. It's not Taz adjacent anymore, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah. So we'd have to just wait and see, because it has to be people that fit that aesthetic, but also would be fine with Hook being the leader. So it can't be somebody that is well established enough to feel like, oh, either they're too big for the ops, or if they are in the ops, they should be leading or be like the second in command of the ops. So yeah, I think someone like a Josh Woods would work. Maybe someone like a Big Bill, just as like some powerful muscle to put into that, who's not really got a lot of direction right now. So
I mean, Brian Keith is a bounty hunter, right? The ops bounty hunter. Like, that could work. I could see that being the case.
Yeah. So they're the ones that immediately spring to mind. I probably could think of some other ones if I had more time, or like devoted a bit more time and effort into it. But yeah, as I say, I just feel like, so this is the end of the ops, right? that's kind of my attitude towards it.
Who do you think, like they said Shibata was going to be recruiting internationally? Is there any talent internationally you'd want to see?
So obviously, if they're saying internationally, they're looking likely into Japan. Then if it's Shibata, so anyone from, I guess it depends. Like if they're bringing someone in just like on a part-time basis in a similar way to like Gabe Kidd originally being part of Death Riders while still being part of New Japan. I don't know, maybe someone like speaking of that ilk, maybe a Driller Maloney, that kind of character.
Surprise, it's evil.
Tony Khan's changed his mind.
Yeah. Hook brought him in without Tony Khan knowing, and so now he's got to stick with it. I don't know if there's anyone else that particularly stands out right now as like an obvious pick to go into there.
It's gonna be Paul White and Turbo Floyd. Not even Truth Magnum, just Turbo Floyd. The last thing to talk about then for this episode that's definitely gone longer than I was expecting. Kenny Omega versus Swerve Strickland ends with Swerve turning heel and being a real ass.
Yeah. So
great match, though.
Another excellent main event match that carrying on a string of great main events for AEW on TV recently. And yeah, so they end it pretty, like, Swerve doesn't win it entirely clean, but clean enough where he at one point like he's going to get hit with a V trigger. He pulls Aubrey Edwards out in front of him to block the V trigger, and commentary plays into it very obviously, like saying, "Oh, I'm sure that wasn't the case. She just got in the way looking in to see because he's saying he was injured." Whereas you can clearly see on the TV that he pulls her into the path of Kenny Omega, but that's cool because anytime that Aubrey Edwards gets hit, that gets massive heat on the person that causes it. So that's great. And then
I thought you were going to say anytime that she gets hit, it's great. I was going to say, damn, dude.
It's great in terms of getting heat.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say like
she's not actually getting hit. She's not actually getting hit, yeah. Or not getting like seriously like
yeah.
fucking hell. We watched that fucking the mixed tag from Grand Slam, and like Willie Uter at one point pole drives Tony Storm onto like some boxes on the outside. It's like we're totally fine with this. This is now an intergender wrestling promotion, not much anything else. And so Swerve gets the win with the big pressure, and then just goes crazy on beating the shit out of Omega after the bell, and then hits a vertebraker through the announce table. And apparently, at least it's been reported that Omega's not planned to wrestle at Revolution. So this could be a bit of a write-off for him injury-wise, at least for a little while. And yeah, that's the turning Swerve heel. I think is a good move. I feel like it's a nice change of pace for the character because he's still going to act similarly to how he always has. But I feel like even as how popular he is with the Whose House Swerve's House thing, his just whole demeanor feels more in line with the heel, or at least an anti-hero dynamic. So yeah, that's like a great match and a nice, more aggressive edge to Swerve Strickland. I mean, if you are going to call yourself the most dangerous man in AEW, you need to back it up with things like this.
Yeah, I thought this match was a banger, and I thought Swerve as a heel wasn't what I was expecting, but could change the game very much. I mean, if Swerve's a heel, that's a perfect opponent for babyface Hangman. Or is Hangman, who's been teaming with Swerve, going to be aligned with him? You know, like it sets the stage for a very interesting year ahead.
Well,
Also, like I know we're about to head off now because, like, just as a thing, not to extend it out even further, but did we talk about? Because I don't know whether I just blanked and maybe I just missed it at some point because I have a tendency to just phase out every now and again during these podcasts, but especially during times where we talk about WWE. Did we mention anything about AJ Styles?
No, because I don't know where they're going with that.
Yeah, they're just he's got like a tribute show, but like, I mean, if he's retired and they're waiting a couple weeks to do a tribute show, it is a little bit weird. Like, are they just going to have him come out and be like, yeah, see you later, everybody? Or is this going to be...
See, my mindset is I think he's re-signed.
And he's just going to be like, I know that I said I was going to retire, but nah.
Yeah, no, he's going to say that he's sticking around. It's to shut down any AEW hopes.
Yeah.
And
also, I think there might have been hopes for the AEW thing, but then he saw those fuck ice chants and then decided he's back to going back to WWE.
He's like, you still got that Sunny Kiss there. Game community.
but no, it is just quite odd that they're now just doing this tribute show, or like this tribute to AJ Styles, and then seemingly there was reports that he was back at the Performance Center this week as well. So it just is odd that they did that. He didn't take his gloves off, and now he's seemingly more closely attached to going back to WWE than anything else. So
it's very strange because it feels like something's up. Maybe fucking he's in the box.
maybe he's changed his aesthetic so it doesn't look like that AJ Styles, and like he looks like completely different. He looks like a younger, like TNA AJ Styles, and that's how he gets to work around like that AJ Styles retired, but this AJ Styles is now here to be phenomenal.
It's a different style of AJ Styles.
Yeah. And,
I don't know. It all seems kind of strange. Now. AJ Styles with you spell the AJ Styles so slightly different, and they trademark it, and then you can kind of play around it that way.
or even worse, he comes in. He's like saying like, "I'm not AJ Styles. I'm now Alan Jones."
Oh, I don't like that at all. Alan Jones is here to do what AJ Styles couldn't do, and that's to beat Gunther at WrestleMania. And his theme song changes to "I want some," just a little bit, you know. I don't know. We'll see what happens on that front too. That's another question mark. Yeah. In any fashion, in any case, drop your thoughts about the different hot tags that we got here in the comment section below, or wherever it is that you're listening to us. Make sure you let us know what you think about all these discussion points. Who would you cast as Mick Foley, or whatever you would call that, and what do you think's happening while these different wrestling shows coming up? And keep in mind too that if you want more Fanboys Anonymous content, show more support for Fanboys Anonymous, and get around to doing some more of those things. You can find that stuff and Smark Moment things and everything else at the link tree at amangotree.com. So follow me there and follow Robin Callum too.
Yep, you can follow me everywhere at Dude Felice. You can check out my work on Insider Gaming, just like Tony did earlier when he read that trademark article I did, and check out what Callum has going on.
You can follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Weekmaster14. Check out the Power Rankings every Saturday over at welcomemoment.com. I rank the WWE superstars based on their previous week's performances. And then check on the Fantasy League, also at WWEFantasyLeague.com, to see how our rosters are performing as we head towards Elimination Chamber and then WrestleMania to wrap up this year's season.
And of course, keep in mind everything else that we always say coming up soon. We got Elimination Chamber coming up next week. I'll be doing a Darkcast at some point. I haven't quite figured that out yet. It's just a matter of this, like, busy times, busy schedules. Wife and I have been sick, so it's been a matter of dealing with that. And I'll probably end up doing some kind of that Elimination Chamber mock draft randomizer, something or other, because that's an easy thing for me to record, and that's a fun thing to do with Elimination Chamber in mind too. But if you have any other suggestions, drop them in the comment section below, and keep in mind that we will be rolling along just the way that we normally do. So if you haven't seen the previous podcasts and stuff, check that back out and the other fantasy booking stuff, and we'll see you when we see you. But adios for now, everybody. This has been another Smark Out moment, and we are being counted out.